T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Coolest reptile podcast / network in the world, episode 463, all of the Treat Tuesdays. Great and powerful Patrick Holmes makes his return. What is good, everyone? I'm your boy, MJ. Hope everyone's had a great start to their week. This is your first time tapping in. You're into keeping reptiles, learning on how to breed them, or just overall the well-keeping of them. This is the podcast to be subscribed to. So, first and foremost, hit that like button, man, especially if you're a Patrick Holmes fan like myself. Hit that like button and then hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast I drop here. This is now a network, okay? 6 days a week this week. Soon it's going to be 7 days a week, but all reptile content, the best doing it in the game, coming straight to you from this channel. So I want to say thank you to anyone who supports this channel, who's been supporting this channel, everyone who listens to Trap Talk Reptile Network on all the major audio platforms. Thank you so much. Means a lot. All right. But we're just getting started. Big things popping, that's for sure. Shout out to the early birds. I'll get to you guys in just a second. If now you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to get like next level behind the scene type activity of Trap Talk Reptile Network, or if you just want to get connected with some of the most amazing reptile keepers in the game, then look at the very first link in the description below and join the Trap Talk Patreon family. As soon as you join the Trap Talk Patreon family, you get a link to the Discord that will tap you in with over 200 trappers. It is nonstop cracking in the Discord. The IG group chat is amazing. Just best way to network yourself and just have some fun while you're keeping reptiles. So shout out to the Patreon members. You guys are my heart. I love you guys. I do want to say, first and foremost, support US ARC. If you are in the reptile game, you don't know what US ARC is, I'm not even trying to come at you. I'm just trying to let you know that there's a second link in the second link in the description below is where you could click and read all about US ARC, get updated and see why it's so important to support US ARC. Get these numbers up, become a member as low as $5 a month. Join the team, man. Shout out to you also if you support US ARC. Shout out to Phil Goss. It's my guy right there. And shout out to the entire US ARC establishment and team behind US ARC. You guys are amazing. And shout out to US ARC Florida, of course. Tonight's episode is brought to you by my guy, Gary Shavino over at GS Reptiles. I am headed to FedEx first thing in the morning tomorrow, picking up a GS Reptiles package. Pause. But yes, my second shipment coming from GS Reptiles coming in this week. Cannot wait. Looking forward to it. I'm actually going to be vlogging it on my channel. But anyways, please go to YouTube since you're already there now and type in GS Reptiles. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss any of this man's content, especially if you're trying to dabble into some other species. Like if you're in the ball python game and you've been in the ball python game, you're like, man, what else is out there? This is the guy you want to follow. This is the guy you want to tap in with because he will put you on to so many amazing reptile species out there that you can work with. So shout out to GS Reptiles. Instagram, also GS Reptiles. Gary Shavino, it's my dog. Appreciate you so much. Also want to say, if you're into tree monitors, you got to follow Brian Susan over at Sundown Reptiles. This guy right there, right here, doing next level stuff with the tree monitors. No one's on this guy's level, and that's a fact. Especially if you've already been following Sundown Reptiles, you know exactly where I'm coming out with this. Works with high-end geckos as well. So either way, amazing stuff coming from Brian Susan, an OG in the game. Sundown Reptiles. Head over to his website, sundownreptiles.com. See what he has available. And just hit him up on Instagram, man. Let him know that MJ from the Trap sent you, and he'll take extra good care of you. That's my boy again, Brian Susan, Sundown Reptiles. And then I always talk about that diversity, man. And I've been a huge fan of switching things up when it comes to feeding my reptiles. And that's offering quail. Implementing quail to my reptiles has been next level, I feel like. I just want to say it is like almost like doing daily water changes. That's how confident I am about feeding quail as a substitute or just as another diverse meal for your snake or monitor. First and foremost, monitors, right? If you're in the tree monitors or in the monitors, this is your guy you need to hit up for your quail, first and foremost, all right? And even any snake species could benefit off eating off quail. He has anything from day one quail to the XLs, all right? Do not sleep on my guy. Blake Exotic Feeders on Instagram to save on shipping and to get hooked up. Just hit him up directly on IG on his Blake Exotic Feeders IG account. All right. Let him know that the trap sent you and he will take that extra good care of you. That's my boy, Blake. Thank you so much for providing top level, top shelf quality quail to me and many other trappers out there and other reptile keepers. So my boy, Blake. All right. Last but not least, Flex in Texas all day, every day. Shout out to Texas Chondros. All right. My man, Mark Hager has been putting Texas on for a minute now, and he's a really awesome guy. So anyways, if you want to meet someone who's really nice and who actually welcome you with questions and stuff like that, this is your guy, Mark Hager. Hit him up on Instagram, TX Chondros. Follow him, and then also head over to his website. I'm not sure what he has available. Last time I checked, he had like 1 or 2 neonates left, but he might be sold out. Either way, go figure it out. Hit him up. And all the links to the tonight's sponsors in the description below. So hit him up. Let him know that you got sent by the trap. And I'll let you know who's here tonight. Marshall Mendez trying to fix his game.
What's up?
What's up, Marshall?
What's going on?
I don't know. Just here hanging out with you and the big dog right here, Ryan Young.
How's it going?
Ryan.
No Bill Stiegel tonight. He said, I told him more likely about 50% or less chondro talk tonight. He said, I'm out. I'm like, all right, see you later. But what's going on, fellas? How you doing? What's up, Ryan?
Not much. Just dealing with a little winter's last gasp up north. So
yeah, I saw you whipped out that sick ass what was it? A fucking
tractor and snowblower.
A snowblower? What did that thing cost you? Holy shit!
Oh, too much,
bro. But like to say you have that is so fucking sick. You whipped it out like, oh, let me just whip this thing out but I'm sure living where you live, you need something like that to make your life easier. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, this winter I was like, man, I kind of regretted my expensive purchase. I didn't get to use it very much, so I could have used it in 2019 when we had 200 inches of snow, but we'll see. I'm sure it won't be like this forever.
Thing looks brand new. Looks nice and crispy.
I got it with all that COVID snake money. So
is that something you have to start frequently to make sure that it always starts good, or you could just not start it for a while and fucking fire that thing up whenever?
So far it's been real low key. Just changed the fuel filter a couple times, and that's it.
All right. Well, let me ask you some questions before we bring Patrick on. Then we're fucked and we can't say anything. What's the year looking like?
Wait, Patrick's coming on. I thought Patrick was we just did a show with Patrick. I thought
we thought. I mean, in a sense, he was supposed to just guest spotlight a quick topic. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it turned into an hour easily. An hour. He was even late to his other podcast that he was supposed to go to or something like that. But God bless him. The guy loves what he does. But where we at? I know March technically is still early for some people in this country, breeding wise, but where we at with March and breeding with you guys right now? Are we kind of at the ends of just figure out okay, what's going to go, or is it still all up in the air right now? Let's kind of talk about that real quick before we bring Patrick on.
Go ahead.
I'm still in the thick of it. I just paired ball pythons for the first time about a week ago, first pairings of the year. And I'm still trying to see what the chondros are going to do. Haven't given up yet. I got, 3 or 4 females that are of age, and I'm not sure maybe if I missed the window already or if there just hasn't happened yet. These are all first time girls. So I'm still trying with them. We'll see if any of them, anything takes hold or not, but
I will say same with me. My first time females there's no action whatsoever. Actually, some of them are trying to get the fuck away from them, but I heard that's kind of normal. But what's up with you, Ryan? How are things looking? Where are you at in the breeding season?
I'm kind of in the shit or get off the pot stage. Everybody's got big follicles, and they're either going to ovulate here pretty quick or they're going to reabsorb, and that'll be that. So
okay,
I've only got 2 clutches on the ground: the olives and a blood python clutch. But
that olive python clutch that you have, is that your first time breeding those, or you bred those before?
Well, first time getting eggs. I haven't bred them yet. I haven't hatched the eggs, so I'll hold off on commenting till I have the babies on the ground.
Wow. So do you even write that on the list yet then, since you haven't? Oh, no. Wow. Okay. So
till a baby comes out doesn't count.
I mean, that makes sense. Well, good luck with that. I'm rooting for you, buddy.
Yeah, the eggs look fine. I mean, I don't have any reason to think they're not going to make it, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So
Yeah, and that's normal python temperatures as far as where you're cooking them at, like 88 or 87, or where are you cooking them at?
yeah, I think they're 88 and a half, something like that.
How many days, give or take, you think?
I've heard they go between 70 and 80 days, so it's going to be a while.
And Marshall, my last thing with you real quick. When do you like to say, all right, I'm pulling the mail at this point? At what time of the year do you stop pairing?
Chondros?
Yeah, Chondros.
I mean, it just kind of depends. Like I pulled him about a month ago, and I noticed him cruising. One of my males cruising the other night. So I've just been kind of rotating him with the females to see if any of them seem interested.
And since we're talking first-time females, you might do that all year. Then is what you're saying. If you see any,
yeah.
sign, okay.
Now that they're of age, I mean, I'm probably not in the middle of the summer. I'll probably give it. You know, we're not done with winter yet. It's been unseasonably warm the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. But typically we'll have, you know, at least one more good cold snap before spring's finally here. So after that, we'll see.
All right. Well, listen, Patrick Holmes is itching for this episode because he's like in a sense trying to introduce a side of himself that he hasn't done on any podcast, and that is talking about stuff that he doesn't really talk about. But let's be honest, anytime Patrick's on a podcast, it's about chondros, and this is about chondros in a sense, but stuff that lives in the trees, not maybe with chondros, but a flex that, not that Ryan was trying to flex, but I don't know what podcast that was, Ryan, when you're just like, dude, naming shit other species you have that are up in the trees. And Patrick's like, dude, that's so true. Like, there are so many other crazy reptiles that are up in the trees, and that's really what this segment's all about. It is chondro heavy because of the co-host maybe, but either way, like, it's about everything in the trees, man. So, diversity is what we're going to hear tonight for sure. But we are going to relate everything to chondros in a sense. So if you guys are ready, I don't know about you, but you guys ready to bring Patrick on or what?
Let's go.
Anything you guys want to say? Like, give it a last chance right now.
If either of us doze off, you'll have to give us a pass.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Well, either way, guys out there listening, you're in for a treat. All right. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. Do what you got to do to get your mind right. Episode 463. The great and powerful Patrick Holmes of Arboreal Obsession coming at you right now. Let's go.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
We're live, episode 463. Patrick Holmes. Nature
What's
is
up, guys?
all right.
Patrick.
Starting off with showing your chest. I love it. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
I'm
Patrick.
just flexing on this badass Instagram account right here. Nature is metal. If you don't know,
With all due respect, I don't think you have time to dick around with how much you're about to talk. Can we get to fucking, you know what I mean, Patrick? Because
I don't know that I really have much to say tonight, guys. What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about fish.
Oh,
The band fish or pet fish or food fish?
or Nirvana.
I
Let's
was
talk about Nirvana.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about Nirvana. I can my full extent of knowledge about fish is that I think they're called a jam band, and John Irby and Marshall Mendez like them.
A lot.
I didn't even know fish existed, and Marshall goes on and on about them. So.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you guys knew this, but I'm a metal fan.
Patrick, you know what I'm saying? We know, a lot of people who watch this who've seen you know a lot about you, but they really don't, because at the end of the day, as I was saying, it goes a lot deeper than Chondros with you, and it always has. But that's not something you like to be very transparent with a lot, and I'm glad that you're about to talk about a lot of that tonight. But before we get into it, why is it that you don't like to always tap everyone into the other background projects that you have going on that's not Chondros?
It's not at all that I don't like to make people aware of it. I am intentionally a little more low key with the venomous stuff for a list of reasons. Some of them obvious and some of them not. One of the things though is that I've just kind of been known for chondros for a long time, and so lately, the last few years, I've gotten busier and busier with the snakes and with work, and I just have to pick and choose what I have time to post about and talk about and stuff like that. So I just have tons of stuff that I would love to share with people, and I just it doesn't always get high enough on the priority list to do it, is really what it is. So not trying to hide anything. I am hiding a lot of stuff over here, but it's not necessarily intentional. If I had time to share pictures and updates on everything that I had, I would certainly do it. I love doing that. I just
everything you keep, you breed though, right? Like it's all about breeding for you. Like that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
So how many, do you know off the top of your head around how many species of reptiles that you keep?
No.
Over 20? Over 20?
I have probably 20 or close to 20 species of vipers over here.
So
and then
why though?
Why 20 species of vipers?
Yeah, because I mean, it's just like I love people who are like respected venomous keepers. I just know it's not a common thing, unfortunately, nowadays. Like a lot of people go off the deep end very quickly, but it's just like if you talk about breeding something where you have to find the right buyer, like why? Like why work with that many and have to be concerned about where those go to at some point? It just sounds stressful.
No, it is, and that's we've actually, we talked about that just a little bit when we were doing the all venomous couple of all venomous talks that we did, but
that was good.
Most of the venomous stuff that I have, with the exception of just a couple of species, I just have like one pair or one trio or whatever. I do have a good number of squams and a good number of eyelash vipers. I probably have I whittled it down a lot. I had like 50 something squams. And I think I've got about 24 squams and about 18 or 20 eyelash vipers. And they're just so variable, and they come in so many different colors. And
are these all different species, or like what are they? Different species or different localities, or like what are they? I know nothing about them.
Same.
Sure. So with the eyelash vipers, they actually just did get divided up into several different species, which is something that they've been working on for a long time, and anybody who pays attention to them knew that was coming. But
are you going to try to cross them?
No, and the ones that I have are all one species. Everything that I've got is Central American stuff. But I also would not have been mad to discover that some of mine were hybrids or whatever. The same way I don't care about my chondros being hybrids.
Let's not piss Ryan off too early, okay? But I'm just I'm curious.
Well,
though, like
it's a lonely road, man. I don't get
it's not a lonely road because I'm on it with you. I just don't. I have probably as many locality chondros as anybody outside of Indonesia. I mean, I love my locality stuff. I just also love my mutts.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not good at straddling the fence.
Patrick, how are mutts looked at in a quote, hybrid sense looked at in the venomous community? Like, that question Marshall asked, are people allowing stuff like that, or
Well, it's a lot less common, but there are some hybrids, but it's the same. Hybrids are looked at the same way in every community. There's some people that think they're really cool. There's some people that think they're utter fucking blasphemy, and then there's a lot of in between. Any contentious subject is like that. There are a lot of guys in Indonesia doing random crosses of random Indonesian vipers, and I'm not a huge fan of it. But on the other side of that, one of the most common venomous hybrids you'll see is a cross between a rhino viper and a gaboon viper. We're getting away from arboreal cross right now, but that's a possible natural hybrid. We get a female gaboon viper will come in
Those
wild
are
caught.
so badass looking too.
They are so badass, and it's just like the Amazon emerald crosses. That's a possible natural hybrid. Some people argue that and say it happens in holding or whatever, but I disagree. I've seen animals.
One thing though, Ryan, you should try to imagine, like, let's just say you were to snap your fingers and be like from where these snakes are from, right? And you're talking to the village people, and let's say the village people are hella cool and down with hybrids, and that they think you're just fucking tripping. What are you gonna say then? I'm just curious.
Well, those people would have to live in very specific spots where two animals come together. And that's very unlikely.
Okay, but a lot of the craziest hybrid shit you see go down is coming from like Indonesia and stuff. Like you see people there's no rules back there from what I can see. They don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? So maybe we're just tripping a little bit, Ryan. I don't know.
Well, there's not a we tripping. It's just me tripping. The rest of you don't seem to give a shit. So it's all on me.
I don't want you to be alone. That's all. I'm trying to be your homie. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's fine. Listen, I've been around a while, and it's always been that way. And I wouldn't talk to anybody if it bothered me that much. So.
But okay, back to breeding though. As far as what's happening, like, are you balancing everything right now? Before we get into your project and what you like to show tonight, like as far as your game planning going to every beginning of the year as far as what you want to breed, because I'm assuming you're not going fucking balls to the wall, like you're strategically pairing, or what's going on?
Yes, absolutely. And to that kind of touches back on what you asked me about breeding and moving venomous snakes. So my whole goal with venomous stuff, none of it is about money. These are all animals that I absolutely adore. I do want to breed every species that I keep. I have plenty of animals over here. I've got chondros and stuff that are old retirees, and some other species that are just older animals that will never reproduce again. But I still keep them because they're, I'm a collector as well as a breeder. But with the venomous stuff, everything I work with is either something that's so rare or niche or unique that I'll never have to advertise animals for sale because I just will already know who will want them. Or it's something that it's maybe not rare, but I work with it because I love it, and I will pass those babies off onto friends of mine who that's what they do. I have friends that's what they do for a living, sell venomous snakes. So I let those guys vet customers and sell them and all that because I don't have a lot of interest in it. And I care
what is the
a lot
venomous snake market like? What is a eyelash viper? I know there's probably a range, but like what's a good average
on price? You mean?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a gauge for what the market's like.
The market is all over the place. There's a bigger market for the animals that you would think, but the pricing is also all over the place. Venomous snakes tend to be on average a lot cheaper than a lot of the stuff that we think about.
Yeah, I figured that.
There's some stuff that's really expensive, but eyelash vipers, just in your normal color ranges, are like $200 to $500 snakes. But then I have
what's the top end of that market?
I have tigers and super tigers that are they go for $800, $1,000 maybe. Then I'm also working with some possible morphs that are not established. I have we call them patternless / stripe because they look patternless unless you look at them really close and they're actually striped. We got a couple of those. I got another possible mutation that we're going to try to prove out, but
And are these like recessive and dominant mutations, or
yeah,
do
yeah,
you know both?
both. The tiger is a dominant thing, but not in the same. It doesn't work the same way as the traits that I'm used to, and I honestly don't keep up with that type of stuff enough to even explain it. I just know that if you breed a super tiger to a normal, you don't necessarily get all tigers. You can get normals and tigers. But
Okay.
the striping thing's a dominant or like co-dominant or whatever. I don't know if anybody's bred two together, so I'm going to try that next year, maybe this year. And the same thing with the squams. There's tiger squams, and it's like kind of a dominant trait, but it seems to work that way. But the ones I don't know, like people use the term.
So what is a squam versus a tree viper? What the tree viper? I'm guessing is
the squams are African variable bush vipers is the common name. Variable bush.
So
viper,
they're African. Okay.
Yep.
And then
eyelash
vipers are like South American.
Yep, Central and South
Okay.
American. Yep. And they're also, that's with most of the stuff that I keep, or a lot of the stuff that I enjoy keeping, they're just super highly variable animals naturally, and that's one of my favorite things about any species. It's what I love about chondros, Amazon tree boas, the squams, and the eyelash vipers. They can look a million different ways. I always thought it's fascinating that you can breed two Amazon tree boas together and get a whole bunch of babies that are all different colors and look nothing like the parents. So
I will say right now, like chondros, they got their own thing going on, and I feel like they're almost an untouchable. But if we were to really kind of like think about if venomous weren't venomous, not wrong one, sorry. But if like venomous weren't something that could kill you, right? Let's just say venomous were something that was like a chondro, you're gonna be just fine if you can handle it or whatever. Dude, it's really hard to top something like this because this thing is just fucking just insane. And this is what kind of viper, or what is this? Is one of the pictures that you sent me that you said you haven't posted, and I'm curious about what's something like this, and what would a bite like from something like this even do to you? I'm just curious.
So I couldn't answer that question. I would assume that they're similar in bite to Wagler's viper, so not deadly, but definitely not something you want to get bit by. That's a Sulawesi temple viper, also called a broad-banded pit viper. The Latin name is Tropidolaemus laticinctus. And I'm not, okay, maybe I'm flexing a little bit, but I think I'm the only person in the United States with an adult pair. To my knowledge, at one point in time, I think there may have been 12 of them stateside, and none of them are in zoos. And I don't know if anybody kept any of those alive. I know the people who were bringing in, I got mine from two sources. One of those sources does not have an adult pair themselves, and the other person sold all the ones that they brought in. So I'm working to be the first person in the United States to produce that species. And I haven't seen anybody in the world ever produce them. I imagine some dude in Germany probably did it 10 years ago or something that we don't hear about or whatever. But,
and are these things fucking like psycho? Like, are they psychotic or like what are they?
No,
what's their? Are they
no.
chill?
So everything in that genus Tropidolaemus, they are essentially arboreal gaboon vipers, and you only know what that means if you've kept gaboons. They are utterly motionless for very, very long periods of time. She's quite defensive. That's my adult female. The males look totally different. I should have sent you a picture of the male. The males.
So the males they're not as green, or what are they?
They're red, white, and green banded. And I may be able to send you a picture really quick.
Don't. It's not worth it, Patrick. Don't mess with it.
All right.
Leave it.
All right.
From birth, they're different colors.
Yeah. So at birth, they're actually pretty similar, just like Wagler's vipers are. But the females, if I showed you a picture of the male with that female, you'd think it was one of her offspring. I bet she weighs 20 or 30 times more than he does. He's the size of like a 6-month-old chondro, and she's 3 feet long. And, I feed her jumbo mice, but because they have a low metabolic rate, but it doesn't leave a lump in her. I mean, she's a big specimen, and the male looks ridiculous with her. It literally looks like something.
How long do the females get, Patrick?
That's the biggest one I've ever seen anywhere in a picture or anything.
Yeah, but how long is she? I don't know how long she is.
Oh, she's right. She's maybe 3 feet long, or a little over 3 feet long.
Okay, so Mangshan vipers get bigger, right?
Mangshan vipers are massive vipers. They're one of the biggest vipers on Earth. This species,
like how big is, like, what do you mean? Like, what is like?
Oh, Mangshans can go 8 feet long. They're like boa size.
They're like a slim emerald. Like, think about an emerald, just not as fucking pipey big, but dude, I've seen some massive ones. I think at the zoo I saw some. Yeah. They're fucking scary.
I've got a younger female. She's like, my females, she'll be 5 this year. They're slow growers, and she's probably 5 feet long. Still has quite a ways to go.
And these are fully arboreal, semi-arboreal. What's going on with these?
These snakes are fully arboreal, like emerald tree boa level arboreal. They no joke, these things sit completely motionless. The Wagler's vipers are the same. They're very closely related to Wagler's vipers and Bornean keeled vipers and whatnot. And I keep Wagler's as well. I have natural perches in there, and sometimes the perches get borers, which are these little beetles that will kind of bore through the wood, and they leave little piles of sawdust. And I one time came in, and one of my Wagler's females had a perfect little cone-shaped pile of sawdust on top of her. And it takes quite a while for the borer to actually leave that pile of sawdust. So she had to be motionless for it to form on her. And my initial impulse was to like get the spray bottle and mist her down and spray it off. But I decided to leave it. And the next day I came in and she had another one on her, and the first one was still there. So like I'm talking about utterly motionless for long, long periods of time. They just sit there.
Wow.
Gaboon vipers can be the same way too.
So when it comes to approaching breeding these, are these like the same way you approach chondros, or like what's the angle when getting success when breeding these?
I don't know, because I haven't pulled it off yet and don't know anybody on Earth who has. But tropical species are tropical species. I mean, with almost any tropical species, you pair them in either the spring or the fall. You want to do it when there's storms outside. And the thing with these is that there's the gestation. I've heard varying things about how long it is, but it's probably a really long time. So, 6 months or 9 months or something like that. I'm not,
live birth.
Yeah, they're live bears.
Wow.
Yep.
It almost looks like the colors obviously aren't right, but it's almost got kind of like a cottonmouthish pattern, like a banded.
Yeah, the banded pattern. Yeah, and her belly is very, very blue, and the blues in there. So Brian Fisher took that picture, and the first time I showed him these when I first got them, Brian called them, said they looked like something from Pandora, something off of Avatar, and so that's why in the comments we were talking about the Avatar death slugs. That's our common name for the Laticinctus is Avatar death slug. But yeah, this isn't my favorite picture of her because it's not a head detail. This is one of the crown jewels of my collection.
Looks like
I don't take this statement lightly. She is as cool as any snake I've ever seen anywhere ever in my life. In person, in a photograph, anything. She is as cool as any snake I've ever seen.
I'm not even a venomous guy, only because I don't keep them, but I don't know about this shit. And I'm telling you right now, for a guy who loves the emeralds and the chondros, I agree with what you just said. This thing looks fucking insane. Like I mean, green's my favorite color, and then second behind green is black. And the coloration of different shades of green, and like it looks like someone sketched this. It doesn't really look real at all. But that's why
there's a bunch of blue and red too. There's little red hairs and lots of blue.
I think everything.
That's the allure of those vipers, man. There's some just phenomenal ones.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. But one thing I'm curious though, Patrick, like you're assuming that you're gonna need multiple males to go to this female, right?
No, and I just have the one pair, so I'm superstitious as fuck, so I'm not going to speak too much about what's going on with them. But
they're paired up now. Like you have them cohabitating right now.
We'll know something eventually, one way or the other. But yeah, they're sorry. It's my thing. That's why you have never once seen me post a picture of chondros breeding unless the babies were already on the fucking ground.
I don't need you to say that. Thank you.
I do the same thing.
Just relax.
Yeah, I'm superstitious, man. I share things privately. I share with my friends. I send pictures of stuff breeding, pictures of eggs that have been laid, but I do not post them on the internet until I have healthy babies on the ground. Like you notice when I do my lives on Facebook or Instagram, that clutch is already all the way out of the egg and perched and everything. You know, that's just how I do it. I have actually I've been keeping venomous snakes for going on 30 years. But I've never really attempted much breeding until recently, and struck out a couple times with squams. I'm not great with live bears, so I got some stills and slugs from my copperheads and puff adders in the same year. But I did last year successfully breed puff adders, and I've got some other stuff.
How many did you get?
Only 5, and these things can have like over 100 babies. So I was kind of bummed out about that. Whoa. She had like
what?
Like
over 100 babies.
Yeah. The record litter for a puff adder is 157 or 153 or something like that.
That's insane.
It's the average litters for a large adult female are 50 plus. That's average.
That shit's on Retix.
This girl, I think she's 5 or 6 this year. And so there, that's young for a female viper, a big viper. And she gave me, I want to say like 15 or 20 slugs, and then I got 5 live babies and a few stillborns as well. So I gave her the year off this time, and next year she'll be a lot bigger, and hopefully I'll get the timing down a little better. And but they're awesome. They're super easy. But again, that's not arboreal, so we shouldn't be talking about that. I've got some arboreal vipers in the works. And so hopefully I'll have some success. I am going to pair up eyelash vipers this spring and working on more squams and a few other things. And I've got tons and tons of babies of various species that I'm raising up. A lot of the stuff I have are still young. Today I got some Malabar vipers.
Just stuff you've produced, like babies you produced, or stuff you bought?
No, stuff that I've bought. And actually the vast majority of my venomous stuff are projects that I have going with Nick Method. Y'all probably heard me talk about that before, but Marshall, you probably remember Nick. He was.
I remember the name, yeah, for sure.
Respectfully, Patrick, I've known you for a handful of years now. Never heard that name, and I never heard the guy that you said that is like your best friend, and that's Brian.
Oh, Fisher. Yeah, Brian Fisher is Front Range Arboreals. I call him my reptile bestie or whatever, but Brian's a really, really good friend of mine.
I've met Brian a couple times. Yeah, Brian's awesome.
He's super awesome. He's low key, but Brian has fucking Bolin's pythons and a bunch of badass chondros and all kinds. He's got all kinds of stuff, Timors and all kinds of shit.
Bull snakes.
Hey, no wonder Patrick calls him his bestie. Fucking.
And then Nick Method is also a really good longtime friend of mine. He used to keep really high-end chondros and basins. I bought my first basins from Nick in 2009. I had one each from all the U.S. big dogs. One from Tony, one from Steve, and one from Ed. A reverse trio that I got, and these were sub-adults. I paid $4,500 for all 3 of those snakes in 2009. Wow.
Damn.
And anyways, but yeah, Nick's been around forever. He used to have a bunch of high-end chondros, and now he wanted to get into venomous, but then he started doing the family thing, and then he moved to Florida, and so he and I, most of the venomous stuff I have here, Nick either bought it or we went in on it together, or it's like he's somehow involved in the majority of the venomous stuff that I have. But he can't keep stuff right now. He also we have a couple chondro projects, and he's the mangrove snake thing is as big as it is because Nick really he saw me working with them and he wanted to get into those as well.
Mangrove cat snakes?
Yeah. So, I've got probably the biggest collection of divergens in the United States. I was the second person in the US to produce divergens. And I saw that comment in the beginning.
Let's get to it. Shout to them, be safe. Shout to them, be safe. And I mean, I think it's a great question.
Yeah, do you want to? We can talk about the divergens and the mangroves right now. I'd love to. I can show you a couple of them.
Yeah, that.
Have you caught a mangrove in the wild?
No, I would. That's on the bucket list to be. Yeah. What country was that in?
Thailand.
No shit. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we were rafting down a river in Arboreal. Yes. They were like 60 feet up in the trees. And at one point we were trying to grab there was a bunch. They were various heights up in the trees. And we were rafting underneath them. And I tried to grab one down, but it went up. And then later that night we got a baby.
Damn.
Nice. Yeah, I've pulled that with with native species where you're if I'm tubing on the river or just walking or whatever and just start pulling branches down and trying to knock them out of the fucking trees. But yeah, there's that old picture of Crutchfield on in a canoe or whatever with a big ass cat snake in a mangrove swamp, and that shit's just too fucking cool, man.
Yeah, and Dan Mallory from DM Exotics, I've seen him on one of his blogs pulling some fucking mangroves out of the wild, which I thought that was fucking sick. That must be intense to do.
Yeah, we saw. Yeah, that was the most common snake we saw.
That's epic.
Yeah, and so Kevin McCurley was the first person to produce divergens in the United States. He did it in 2019, but he hasn't done it since because he kept fucking feeding males to his big ass female. They will cannibalize. I've only ever had one cannibalism attempt with pairings, and it was actually pretty recent. But my breeder male is massive. Well, I have 3 adult males. I've got eight adult divergens and then babies that I produced. So
yeah, that's badass.
This is my favorite holdback.
Yeah, you produced that, bro? That thing looks fucking nuts.
Yeah, so 2022, I had a clutch.
They're pretty chill, obviously, it looks like, right?
No, they are not. They are not fucking chill at all. They are the most defensive mangrove snakes. This thing is ready to bite me. It already struck at me when I was pulling it out, and they stay ready to rock and roll all the time. Damn. And they're divergens in my experience because I've kept a lot of melanota and a good number of Jimmy Cincta. I've had Dendrophila as well. These are the most defensive mangrove snakes for sure. So Dan Mallory was the third person in the U.S. to breed divergens from a pair that I sold him a while back. And this is my favorite baby. It's a female, and she has got the least amount of black I've ever seen on a divergence. She's really, really blue. And so, and she's got really wide yellow bands. So eventually the goal is to try to lean towards that. The females they're sexually dimorphic. The females tend to muddy up a little bit as they get older. Most of them don't stay clean. The only clean one I have is my het axanthic, and I don't want to breed her to my normal male because I have a het male. But if that doesn't take, I'll just bail on the axanthic thing and just aim for really high color normals.
What do you think gave you success on breeding those, Patrick?
Say that again.
What do you think it was that made you successful breeding those?
So mangrove snakes are not exceedingly difficult to breed as long as they don't eat each other. But the incubation is tricky. The first fertile clutch that I got only had 2 fertile eggs, and I fucked off both of them. One of them went further than the other one. I got it to go closer to term. They have to stay really humid, but there's a threshold for it, and you can get them too wet, and it's tricky. I tried a couple of different things. The thing about it is their eggs are actually really tolerant of swings, there's just going to be a moisture threshold. They dry out and they're fucked, or they get too wet and they're fucked. But they can tolerate temperature swings. Some people actually had them on a night drop while incubating them. I may not try that this time. The thing is about the eggs is that I asked like 10 different guys how to hatch these eggs, and I got 10 different answers. That means that there's a lot of different ways to do it, and I just had to find the way that was working for me and dial it in. So I went from trying to do them in perlite to doing, because that's how I fucked them up the first time. They were drying out, and I added too much water to the perlite, and they got too wet. They actually have like they can flex with the eggs can flex with the humidity fluctuations. It's pretty cool to see that. But too far one direction to the other, and they're fucked. So what I do now is I have them no substrate like a chondro setup, but that's not quite humid enough. Even though it reads 99% humidity on any device you put in there, those things are generally not super accurate. I get really, really wet sphagnum moss and pack it in around the eggs, but not touching them. And that makes it even more humid than just the suspension method. And so far that has worked for me. So to bring it up to the highest level of humidity possible without the eggs actually getting wet has been the trick that for hatching eggs for me.
Ever done that with chondros, the sphagnum moss thing?
No, but I do that as they're hatching. As soon as they start pipping, I pack damp sphagnum in around so that it helps keep the humidity up to keep any, like if I've cut any eggs and they were a little, sometimes I'll after they start pipping, I'll pip eggs, and you don't want them to dry out if you've cut them and they're not ready yet. But also they'll come out and kind of clean themselves up. Sphagnum moss has like because of the nature of where it grows in bogs, it has antimicrobial properties, and it's just kind of like a sponge and helps them get all the funk off. So I do pack it in to my chondro egg boxes when they start hatching. I'm going to attempt to pull out my adult male. All these colubrids, they're nervous species. They don't fucking like me. And almost
they hate everything. This is why when I let go of my fucking group of mangroves, I was one of the happiest times of my life, because it was like it's probably the most stressful times was dealing with those snakes. I'm not joking. They were nuts. And
Ryan, have you ever kept a venomous snake pet? Or have you ever had any venomous snakes?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
So I'm just gonna try to show you how big this snake is. I don't know if I can get far enough back.
I mean, that looks pretty big. Over 6 feet.
He's over 7 feet, I would say, or maybe right at 7 feet.
Oh, he's gonna light the camera up. Oh, he's pretty curious. He looks chill.
He's being okay right now, but I have to be just super, super slow. I just almost never mess with this animal at all. And when he was younger, he nailed me a good few times. They are venomous. They're rear-fanged venomous. And I've been bitten by all the types that I've kept. I've been bitten by babies and adults. I've never had any reaction to it, but I've also never let one chew on me. Every time you see people...
I've been chewed on. It sucks.
Yeah. Every time you see somebody having a reaction to anything like that, hog nose snake or whatever, it's because they fucking let it sit there and chew on them.
So what do? You just pull it off, or what?
I fling the bastard.
Yeah, I've actually never had to, because I always just get fast defensive bites. But yes, if one of them grabbed a hold of me, I'm yanking it off immediately.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have the hog nose. I have a Mexican hog nose I caught in Texas.
Oh, really? Nice.
I've kept hog nose too, actually. So you know what? I take it back. I have kept some rear fangs.
Well, garter snakes are venomous too. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
That's a proven breeder for you, then, huh, Patrick?
Yeah, this is the male who sired all of the eggs that I've hatched out, and just like the reason I want to pull him out is because just like that Laticinctus female, this is a crown jewel of my collection, and I feel the same way about him as I feel about her, which is snakes don't get cooler than this. He's not cooler than every other snake, but snakes to me don't get cooler than that. He's as cool of any animal just any snake I've ever seen. I absolutely adore that animal.
Patrick made it be known in the comment section when he was participating with other people about how Amazon basins aren't the best thing out there. He was very adamant about that. And I was
are not the best thing out there?
Yeah, he was like, they're not. What did you say? You were talking mad shit, Patrick. What were you saying about Amazon basins? They're not.
I wasn't talking mad
I would agree
shit.
with that statement, but
Basin
anyway,
emeralds?
yeah, go ahead.
I'm pulling out. I'm going to pull out basins in just a second. So this is my biggest Sulawesi mangrove. They're the solid black ones, the Jimmy Cincta. Jimmy Cincta are born the most colorful. They've got crazy, insane neonate color, and then they turn into a solid jet black animal. So these are 3 of my favorite species come from Sulawesi.
Those are known to be psychotic too, though, aren't they? Like those things don't.
You know, they're actually real wishy-washy. But all mangroves, they have a switch.
Yeah,
they're corn snake calm, and then they just flip shit and freak the fuck out. And they're striking, and the divergens especially, they're the fastest and most accurate striking colubrids I've ever worked with. And they have a reach that's just deceptive. This girl is old as shit. She laid a whole bunch of clutches over in the UK. She may just be done. I've tried her a few times and never gotten anything out of her, but I don't mind. I love the snake, and I'll just keep her until she dies. I don't care if she breeds for me or not.
And what are you keeping those in? What's your enclosure?
So they are in vision cages, and I would like to keep them with a bioactive substrate because of how much they shit, but they shit too much for any bioactive setup to work unless it was a massive enclosure.
Do you have to feed? Do you feed them a lot?
Yes.
I've actually it's probably better for them and definitely for juveniles if you feed them smaller meals more frequently. But once they get to a certain size, I've started backing them off, and they can handle huge meals. Like some people don't like me saying that, but they can handle huge meals, just like not the same level as what a python can handle. But that my big male, he'll eat a large rat like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And then instead of feeding him a small rat every week, you know, I can feed him a large rat or a medium rat every 2 or 3 weeks, and he does fine. The thing with them is they shit 2 to 3 times per meal. No joke.
Sucks.
And it is the worst smelling shit. And in my snake house, they're the first cages when you walk in. And so like when I open that door, and it's like clockwork, 4 days after you feed them, you open the door and it's like, God, fuck. And then one of them's shit in the water bowl, and you got to go through. And so I have them all on the real heavy duty charcoal puppy pads that are super absorbent, and huge cork bark tube, big crepe myrtle branches, and just a really huge water bowl. All the females have heat lights that I can turn on if I think they're gravid, and the females all also have a big tub in the cage that has perlite on the bottom with sphagnum on top of that for a lay box, because they can lay as many as 4 times from one copulation. And so once they're going, you just got to have an egg box in there. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So
that's interesting.
I got 3 clutches from one lock off of the first time I got my divergence to lock up. I got 3 clutches out of it. And this big Jimmy Cincta female, she one time in the UK laid 4 clutches, 4 good sized clutches off of one copulation. On the subject of black snakes from Sulawesi, this is something that I just got into. So these are Sulawesi blacktail rat snakes. And there's a black phase. So these are related to red-tailed green rat snakes. A lot of people might be familiar with that. Gonyosoma. Yeah, this is a black Jansenii. So the red-tailed green rat is Gonyosoma oxycephalum. That's what a lot of people are familiar with. Gonyosoma jansenii is normally silver or tan with a black tail. This is the black phase. They're not melanistic. They're born green. They just turn jet black, just like the mangroves do.
That snake was
So,
green as a baby.
yep.
Wow,
And
that's fucking
yeah,
neat.
and they are like fucking black, dude. Like
So that's considered a colubrid, right?
yeah, these are colubrids, and so mangroves and Gonyosoma inhabit the exact same habitat. They live in mangrove swamps and tropical forests, and my plan is once these are acclimated to keep them and try to breed them exactly the same as the mangroves. That was the reason I got these, is because I'm hoping. I don't know if you guys can see her puffing up her throat defensively. See that?
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I've played with those before. They're pretty cool.
Super cool, man.
It's not Nido, Marshall. Relax, okay?
So all of my this girl didn't want to let go. All of my mangrove snakes are captive bred, but these are wild caught, so I'm keeping them in CB70 racks. These are an animal that's real nervous, and you kind of just want to put them up and leave them alone.
Right.
So they're in CB70 racks with just cypress and sphagnum and leaf litter. Man, she just does not want to let go. I guess I'll just hold her for a while.
Where would you sell babies when you get like, you know, where would you sell babies like from a snake like this? Like you feel like
where would I sell them?
Yeah, like I'm just curious if you had a bunch or whatever.
Well, they don't lay huge clutches, neither do the mangroves. You know, these are snakes that lay like between like 3 and 9 eggs type of thing. And there's something just like the mangroves. I don't think I'd have to do a whole lot of posting them. I think there's enough. I generate enough interest just by posting pictures of them on my social media, and then people will ask about them or whatever. I don't ever really plan to have like a MORPH market page or any of that. Maybe eventually set up a website or something, but so far social media sells most of the stuff. I mean, you know, the chondros are not difficult to sell. So I just don't I feel like if I'm ever posting so much stuff that I'm having to market it, this is my general philosophy on all the stuff that I work with and on selling snakes. If I feel like I'm producing so much stuff that I'm having to start putting time into marketing, I'll probably dial it back, or I will have other people selling it for me. Because a lot of people, this is not a knock on ball pythons. It's just two totally different ways to do it. And they're both fully functional models. And the ball python people make a lot more money than I do doing what they do. But you can choose something that's very consistent and very easy to breed and very reliable. But because it's consistent and reliable, lots of other people can do it. So you have to have reasons that people want your snake. So you have to either produce really dope cutting edge shit, or you have to market it, or both. I prefer to do, and Ryan does both of these things that I'm about to talk about, and which is awesome too. But I prefer to put all my work in the snake room and produce things that are a pain in the ass to produce, a pain in the ass to get started. But because of that, the supply is low because it's hard to do, and the demand is high, and I don't have to work to market my stuff. I prefer to put in my work in the snake rooms where I love it than putting in work trying to market shit.
And I think your experience and your relationships with a lot of people throughout the years, you being a legit person, is kind of why you might need to market as much as other people, because everyone knows who the fuck you are as far as people who are in the hobby. And you are working with stuff that just isn't out there really, you know what I mean, for the most part.
Yeah.
And whenever you have unique, diverse shit like that, it sells itself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You don't have to do much, you know, and that's kind of, I feel like you work with a lot of stuff, not only work, but you're successful with stuff that you don't need to do much, like leg room or like, you know, muscle as far as getting rid of it. Like it's, and I hate saying get rid of it, but finding homes for them, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 And I also love that with things that are really niche, like the chondros, I get to like sell somebody something that they're cherishing, and it may be the only one they have, or it may be the first one they've ever gotten. And I get to have these, I spend a great deal of time talking to people that I've sold animals to and helping people out with stuff. and I love all of that. And a lot of that goes out the window if I'm having to like worry about posting fucking leopard geckos for sale on Morph Market or something. It's just I'm just not into it. And look, I love ball pythons. I love leopard geckos. I've kept a whole bunch of both of them. It's just not my thing anymore. And
hey, well, listen,
anyway,
hey, listen, it's our thing, okay? So relax just a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Look, I remember when I got my first normal ball python for $29 in like '94, and I was fucking stoked about it. So,
Well, you remember what the book said back in '94?
No, what did the book say? Impossible to breed, huh? Yeah.
What did the book
So,
say?
Back then, they were considered one of the hardest python species to breed.
Wow.
Hey, just even to take care of, because you could never get them to eat.
Keep them alive.
Yeah, they came in with more ticks than scales.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to order bush babies in 1,000 lots. I used to work for a wholesaler. I worked with like really large scale collections. Like I don't know, 300 and something snakes right now. That's a lot for the type of species that I keep, but it's not a lot. You know, I remember
privately. That's pretty a lot privately.
It is, and I finally have somebody that I trust to start coming over here and helping me with some stuff. I've needed help for like 3 years now, but it's really hard for me to find somebody that I can trust to work with. I probably still won't let him mess with much of the venomous stuff. Maybe some of the easier stuff. I have some, anyways, the liability. But man, if I had somebody to do a lot of the easy stuff for me, I could spend more time working with the more difficult stuff, working on my baby chondros and working the venomous stuff. So I'm got that going now. I would like to, since we're an hour in, we're halfway mark. I actually want to shift gears and ask all three of you guys some questions about like crossover husbandry with various arboreal species and whatnot. But before I do that, I want to do what I told MJ I was going to do. And that way, if you guys have any questions about other stuff I keep in a little bit, I'd like to hear it. I'm going to just make a list off the top of my head of all the arboreal species that I keep, because that's what this episode is about, is all the arboreal species. And this is also because of what MJ said about Ryan flexing on everybody with all on the other episode of all the shit he keeps, because that was a really nice flex. I appreciated it. So I keep green tree pythons. I don't know how many, but I'm relatively confident I have the largest private collection on the planet of green tree pythons.
Whoa! And I'm assuming like 83% of those are BX.
No, but I have. Well, at one point last year, I had 42 BX.
Wow! Wait, you for real? You're saying you probably looked? Yeah. I'm assuming you looked into this for you to say something like this. The biggest chondro collection in the United States? I don't know. No, maybe in the world. I don't know of anybody else on Earth that has more green trees than I do. And you don't want to say the number? Say the number, or what's going on? I actually don't know the exact number, but I know a ballpark, and I am unaware. I knew of one person last year who was a couple dozen behind me in the States, but. You know, if it's somebody else, it's a farm or something with hundreds of fresh wild caughts laying around or whatever. I don't. What's the percentage of those are holdbacks stuff you made? Right in here, I've got 18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, he's trying to flex backs on you, Ryan. He's trying to say the biggest chondro collection in the world. You started this. I mean, I think I have like 70. I don't know. It's at least 60 holdbacks in here.
Well, he can look out when I'm done doing what I want to do with all the python species. I'll be coming for him with the chondros.
Yeah. Well, I'm just waiting on.
After the 60th python species. That's it.
Yeah,
focused on chondros. The rest. I'm
just waiting on Ryan to sell me some shit. He has some of my favorite chondros on the planet. No joke. Ryan has some of my absolute favorite green trees on Earth. I know. There was that one. I wouldn't be saying this out publicly, but you said it the other day that female that you lost was one of my favorites. But your male maniquari that you have is one of my flat out favorite chondros on the planet. I'm all about the locality shit.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah. So I have a shit ton of chondros. I have emerald tree boas, northerns. I have produced northerns.
How many emeralds? I'm going to ask you on that.
I just have a trio of northerns plus the 2 babies that I produced that are yearlings. And then I have basins. Since we're doing this, and this is what I want to get into, is talking about emeralds and Amazons and whatnot, since we all keep that stuff. But
all right. See, this is why we're here. I like that. And that
the short bus snake.
What's your problem?
Yeah,
how's this a short bus snake? A short bus
they're
snake?
kind of stupid. Emeralds are kind of stupid.
They are, yeah.
Maybe I'm a short. Maybe I'm a short bus person. Maybe that's why I don't understand.
When you hand them a rat and they like play with it for 2 hours trying to figure out how to eat it, and the chondros like would have had it done 2.5 hours.
I will say that's very annoying. That makes no sense why they keep rewrapping and unwrapping and rewrapping and yeah. But what's the bloodline on this one? What's the stock on this one right here?
So this is an animal that High Wind produced. All three. I have animals from all 3 of his 2021 litters, and all 3 of his females are merino animals. All 3 of his girls are from Ed. So this is merino lineage, but his 2 males, one came from Tom Crutchfield and was undocumented, and the other one came from, what's the gentleman who passed away a few years ago that had the serpentarium? Son of a bitch. Out on the East Coast, really big place. He had a bunch of venomous stuff. His name escapes me right now, but anyways, so that's where his 2 males came from. So essentially undocumented males to Ed Merino females. Nice. And I have some from all 3 litters. So I've got 2.3 of his, so 2021 animals.
You have 5 basins.
No, and then I have 2 adults as well, 7 basins.
You haven't bred the adults yet?
I got them to lock up a whole bunch last year, but nothing took. And I have them. They're both in shed right now. And right now is when most of my Corrales boas start cranking it up. Like I have Amazons breeding right now, and I'm getting ready to throw the northerns back together. My giant northern female is in shed, and both of the adult basins are in shed. And so I'm kind of hoping that with these storms we have coming, that they're all going to get rocking and rolling. So I will be trying again.
Now, I'm curious, the way you approach emeralds, are you kind of just like you leave them together until something goes down, or is there a time of the year like summer or something where you pull them and reset things? I'm curious.
Well, I've seen people breed them all different times of year, but the most of the success that I've had with that genus has been from like late winter and spring pairings all the way through probably April. And so that's my approach with the chondros. They're all over the place. I've had chondros breed in every month of the year, and I maybe have hatched them in every month of the year as well. I'd have to maybe not November. I don't know. I maybe have hatched chondros in every month of the year. But the Corrales seem to be more seasonal, and so I'm pairing them in the spring. So hopefully I'll have a bunch of that going on. It'll be if I can produce bases.
Patrick, for the record, then you're like Marshall when it comes to chondros. If you see something going on, no matter what time of the year, it's going down. Is what you're saying? It's going down.
It's going down. I'm always just watching the girls, and I like to have a bunch of badass stud males because you can plan pairings all you want, but they will not always do what you want them to do.
Yes, hey, so, Patrick, I'm glad I just remembered the seed. You told me about males. Some males having seasons, and when they're over it, they're over it. And even if they're good when they're on, when they're off, they don't want nothing to do with it. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've heard somebody say a while back, maybe on the show, that he had never had a male refuse to breed a female that was developing. I've experienced that multiple times. I've had proven breeder males that did not want anything to do with a female that was developing, threw a different male in there, and he locked her up immediately, and I got a clutch out of it. So just because the female's developing follicles does not necessarily mean that the male you put her with is going to get on it, even if he's a proven stud. And males do have a season. There are some males that will seemingly lock up almost anything, anytime. But I promise you that if you pair them to females all year round, there will be like a 4 to 6 month window where he's really on and actually getting the job done.
Wow.
It's not that they can't produce viable sperm year round. It just seems like that there's like a ebb and flow to it. But in my experience, most males have about a 4 month window or something where they're just really rocking and rolling, and about 2 or 3 months where they're really on. I'm watching females for follicle development signs, and then trying the male that I want to use, and knowing that I may have to use a different male if that doesn't work. So that's my approach to chondro breeding. And they're the only snake that I have that's like, well, no, and these colubrids are the mangroves and the goniosoma are like that as well. They can produce follicles at various points through the year. So I'm kind of just watching all of those for follicles. Everything else is more seasonal. So yeah, I'll run down this list really quick because I want to ask all of you guys about keeping and breeding your emeralds and the crossover between the species. But I also have scrub pythons. I have Moluccan scrubs. I have barneck scrubs. I have
Patrick,
scrubs.
how big are your Moluccans? I'm curious.
They are, they're eating medium rats. The male is considerably larger than the female on the same feeding schedule, and they're clutch mates. So that's kind of interesting to me.
And then I have to ask you, how big do you feel like your Moluccans should be? Because there's a lot of like, oh, they shouldn't be that big. And then, you have Stephen Kush where his are gigantic. So it's like, where are we at now with where you sit with this?
I think just like I mentioned before about any of these things that people argue about, I'm kind of a reasonable middle kind of guy. And I think that with any python species, there are outliers that get absolutely massive, both in captivity and in the wild. And there's huge genetic components to that, because I've seen plenty of species where siblings fed on the exact same schedule have significantly different growth rates. So there's some kind of genetic component to it. But I don't think that they're tiny, like somebody, maybe he said Casper was saying that or something.
Casper told me, that they're a dwarf species. They should be considered a dwarf species of scrubs.
No, and I disagree.
The largest museum specimen at the Bogor Museum is a Calastolepis.
Yeah,
right.
There you go. And so I don't think that they on average are as big as southern and barneck animals, but I think they're significantly larger than Nauta and even Halmaheras. Most of the hounds I've seen were very small pythons, but the record is supposedly 16 fucking feet for Tracier. And there used to be a local guy here that I never saw it, but I had a bunch of friends that saw it. A local guy here had a 12-foot Tracier. So
I've seen I've seen a Tracier that was every bit of 10 to 12 feet. It was a monster.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there's but that's the same thing. Look at retics. You see 20 to 25 foot retics, but most of them are like 14, 15 foot. There could be a massive discrepancy between upper end of average to like giant outliers.
I've seen a 10-foot monster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this zoo guy. He told me how big it was, and I didn't even believe him it was a Nada, so I drove from here over there to see it and was like, holy shit. It was
That's
the biggest.
Badass.
It was one of those, like, it was big because he fed it jumbo rats like every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, look, Bill, the first time I ever went to Bill Stiegel's house in 2008, I want to say, he had a Papuan carpet python over there, a female that was every bit of 8 feet long. Every bit of 8 foot. She's as big as any huge captive coastal that I've seen. And there's a lot of argument about that right now in the carpet world, where all these carpet guys, some of them probably listening right now, and I like all these people, but I disagree with them. There's this push to where they're like, oh, carpets are not big snakes or don't have to be that big or whatever. They say that to like make them more marketable to a wider audience. Wild coastal carpet pythons get fucking huge, dude. They are big, big snakes. And I saw somebody posting some the other day that were little bitty things, and it's like, yeah, he's posted his hand, and they're in CB70 racks, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you can underfeed these animals so that you can justify keeping them in CB70 racks and sell them to a wider range of people, but that does not change the fact that on normal feeding schedules and in the wild, I don't know that I rarely see a picture of a wild coastal carpet that's under 6 feet. Rarely. They get huge. So
the southern coastals
anyway,
get real huge. The northern coastals don't get as big typically.
not as big typically, but same thing. There's outliers like Chris Smith had that one that lived in his barn on his property. Did you ever see that, Ryan? You know Chris in Australia? He had he's got like some massive scrubs that he keeps outdoors, and he keeps the lapis and stuff. Chris is super fucking cool.
Is that the guy? Does he have glasses? Like he's a bigger guy and he has glasses, and there's a picture of him with a huge scrub in the river, or like in some sort of fucking no, that's not him.
You've seen some pictures. If you've seen pictures of him with his big scrub, he has a female that's like 16 foot or something, and he has some pictures of him in his yard with her and whatnot. He has huge outdoor enclosures. They're super awesome.
He kept it in a barn. You said
he had a carpet python that lived in his barn on his property when he had a different place, and she had been there for 2 previous owners of the property.
Wow. Damn, she was in heaven.
This thing was probably 13 or 14 feet long. Just monstrous carpet python, and he lived up north. But again, just outliers. So yeah, I don't feed any of my scrubs real heavy once they hit like the 3-year mark. I tend to feed the shit out of everything for the first 1, 2, or 3 years, depending on the species. When they're young enough to handle it, I want them to become very robust animals with aggressive feeding responses, everything that I keep. But I mean, my scrub females that I've raised from babies, they're 5 years old, 5.5 years old going on, and they are siblings raised on the exact same schedule, although one of them was kind of runty, and they are about 6.5 and 8 feet at 5 years old, which I think
how you got those snakes pretty fresh. I remember they're really red, right? Like you got them young, those scrubs, from what I remember.
Yeah, and I have I got them in 2018 when they were, real young, just starting to. One of them was still red, and I bought 7 of them, 7 clutch mates from somebody. Their 2nd generation captive bred. Not a whole lot of F2 scrubs floating around of any type.
Right. And I'm curious,
so,
those were all established when you got them, or did you have to work on those, or what was it like?
One was a little finicky, but the rest of them were all good to go.
And what were they eating? What were you starting them off on?
Fuzzy mice or hopper mice.
Live?
I think they all took frozen thawed. I've rarely had to start any pythons on live.
So easy.
My Brettles always take frozen thawed. Yeah, I've got quite a few Southerns. I've got Highlands. I have wild caught Highlands, a pair. I have a pair of captive bred Highlands, one from James and one from Steven. I have those 2 F2 kind of Highland outcross females and another Highland outcross female that was produced by David Means from a male that I traded him for some chondros back in the day. And so what other boas do I have? I have Amazon tree boas, quite a few of them. I have Dominican red mountain boas.
Dude, those are sick. I feel like those not enough people have those for sure. 100%. Shout out to Randy. Randy's watching.
I have Jamaican boas. These are Jamaicans that were zoo bred.
Those sick as shit. Have you ever had those before, Ryan? Have you ever worked with those?
Yeah, I've kept subflavis. Those things are fucking hideous.
Yeah, they are smelly, messy, nasty
they make timber
motherfuckers.
pythons look good, like happy snakes.
They do, man. They ooze urates and piss all over.
Nasty goo. They perpetually ooze was too much for me.
Yeah, and the musk is terrible. I actually would like to get them set up like outdoors for half of the year if I could swing it. So that's how Crutchfield tolerates them. Keep them outside all year.
I tried Jamaicans and Puerto Ricans and was just like, man, they're both stunning snakes, but they're
not fun to keep.
couldn't deal with it.
They're not fun to keep. They're really beautiful, and I really like them. But yeah, so Dominican, Jamaican boas, Amazons, basins, northerns,
How many Amazon
all the
litters have you done?
scrubs.
How many Amazon litters have you done?
Not a whole lot. I think I've produced Amazons maybe like, gosh, 6, 7 times, something like that. Since 2019, that was my first time I ever produced them. Was
So
2019.
every year you're having success with them?
Yeah, I've had Amazons every year. To touch back on something, I've mentioned this on podcasts before, but Amazons and emeralds were my first arboreal love. I was not originally a chondro guy.
Right.
My love for arboreal reptiles started from 2 pictures in 2 different books. When I was really young, I had an encyclopedia that had a black and white photo of a Jackson's chameleon, a male with the 3 horns, with a tiny little neonate perched on the longest horn. And I thought it was the fucking coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I started keeping chameleons in 1993. By the time I was like 14 or 15, had experience with more species of chameleons than a lot of the experienced chameleon keepers at the time in the country. Then my dad had a book that had a picture of a baby basin in it, and it didn't even look real to me. And so that was what got me into arboreal snakes. My first arboreals were Amazons I got from Crutchfield in 95. And so the Corrales boas were what really got me into it. And it's that the hunting pose of emeralds is as cool, if not cooler, than the hunting pose of a chondro. And it's just, I never, ever, ever in my life will get tired of walking into the room at night and seeing all those ladies just lined up, ready to rock and roll, man.
But respectfully, chondros are dipshits too. Okay, we can't just say emeralds are dipshits, because I've seen some.
I disagree.
I've seen
Not
some
compared to an emerald.
stupid shit, bro. Like
Compared to a scrub, maybe, but not an emerald.
Yeah, I'll get with you on that. So
they're like slugs. They're like reptile slugs, basins.
calling them that. Come on.
I still love them. It's just they're a little bit special.
Yeah, you
they're a
call
little special.
them short bus, and this guy's calling them slugs.
Well, I call Boland's python short bus snakes too.
Damn.
Yeah, I think the ball.
They're like the basins of the scrub world. They don't just eat their food right away. They're totally like, ooh.
They don't care much.
Yeah, I still want to keep Boland's. Eventually, I'll do it.
Me too.
One of these
I'm
days
older.
I
I want to do that when I'm a lot older.
Someday.
I think I've gone over all the boas and arboreal colubrids. So quick, I'm gonna list.
Patrick, real quick. As far as where you keep your emeralds and your chondros, same room, or do you like to keep the emeralds colder? Like, what do you do with that? I'm curious.
Yeah, and that's actually where I want to go. So let me list this venomous list so we can get all the way off of that, and just that's exactly what I want to talk about is the differences between chondros and emeralds and Amazons. And I want to ask you guys the same question that you just asked me.
Okay.
So I have eyelash vipers, variable bush vipers. I have Bothricus bilineatus, which is a 2-stripe forest palm viper. I have blackface purple spot vipers. I have Trimerosaurus gramineus. I have no idea what the common name for that is. My buddy Alex, I think, was the first person in the States to breed them, and I got some from him. I have blue insularis. Those are the solid blue Komodo Island vipers. I have Trimerosaurus trigonocephalus. Actually, I think they're Craspidocephalus trigonocephalus now. So Sri Lankan palm vipers. I have, what else is down there? That may be everything in this room. A whole bunch of eyelash vipers. Then I have Wagler's vipers, the Sulawesi temple vipers. I have a pair of Mangshan vipers.
How big are those?
The male's about 4 foot and the female's about 5 foot.
Dude,
I have Craspidocephalus malabaricus, which is the Malabar python or Malabar viper. I guess that's the common name, Malabar pit viper or something like that. Another real variable species. I'm probably forgetting some shit, but yeah, a whole bunch of different arboreal vipers. I have a bunch of terrestrial stuff too, but those are
my favorite. Just if I'm allowed to say what my favorite was after everything you just list, as far as the venomous goes, Mangshan vipers is like king to me. That's
I love them.
And then that other one you just showed, the one that you said was like your prize venomous. That I'm a big fan of that thing too as well. Yeah.
I don't know what any of them are. I mean, like I know obviously I like vipers, and there's so many. Like I don't know, they just have so many. There's so many different. You know, I guess I don't know if they're species, phenotypes. Like I can't keep them all straight.
Or just peruse my Arboreal Obsession Instagram. I've got most of that shit on there.
I'd be like Patrick. I'd have all that shit. That's why I can't have any of it, because I would have all of it. So I was just like, nope.
I struggle with that a lot. So I keep all of my arboreal boas. I try to keep everything as close to the same as possible, and the only exceptions to that are some of the cooler weather stuff. I have some higher elevation things, vipers, and some of my desert vipers. I have some rattlesnakes and stuff that are desert arid species. But other than that, I try to keep everything pretty much the same. This room is the only room that's not on ambient.
I have a question real quick. As far as the scrubs go, is there any difference on any species on how you should keep temperature wise, or is it all the same on the same, like on the board? These all the same?
I think that it depends on what your setup is and where you live and a lot of other variables, but they can all or almost all be kept in essentially the same way as far as temperatures go. I keep all of my, except that's a great exception. Bull and they need to get a lot cooler because of their elevation. And same thing with the Mangshan vipers, and I have a couple other cooler weather vipers, and I keep diamond pythons. Diamonds need, I forgot about diamonds and brettles. There's some more arboreal boas that I keep. I have a good number of brettles.
Where's a Mang? Is a Mangshan? Is that? I guess I'm guessing is where are they from?
They're Chinese, and they come from a really small part of a mountain range in China. There's
what's the weather like there?
You don't.
They're it's like Boland's pythons. It's like a high elevation, high humidity, very cool weather.
Cool.
They're fucking amazing, bro.
I'm actually turning the master closet in the snake house is in the venomous room, and I'm turning that into a cool room because I have some high elevation stuff that's still over at Cody's house, some Bothricus aurifer, and then I've got some high elevation stuff plus my Mangshan. So that's going to be a cool room. I may even put my diamonds in there. I'm not sure yet. And then everything else I keep the same. So a few dry things and a few cool things, but all the other stuff that I mentioned, I keep them all at the same temperatures. I keep my chondros and my emeralds identical to one another. There is zero difference in the way that I keep chondros and emeralds. Other than if a female emerald is gravid, I'll give her like a couple of degrees higher of a hot spot than I will a chondro. That's the only difference.
That's what I did this year as well. Like they're like 2 degrees higher, if any, and that's if she's going the distance.
But I'm looking for 85, 86 for a chondro at the perch when they're gravid, and 87, 88 for an emerald.
You do 8 or 10 hours. I forget. How long do you apply?
I think I have mine on 10. They're all on 10 hours on their panels. The room is on 12 and 12, but it's a oil-filled radiating heater. So it takes a long time to heat up in the morning. But I've thought about bringing it down just because it tends to take quite a while to cool off. But that being said, there's the AC running at night too, and so that brings it down a little faster. But that's just in the one adult room on this side of the house. So this whole room, everything's on heat. Like this whole room is racks. It's all 6 and everything in here is 6 and 15 quart racks, and they're all on back heat. But the other bedroom across the way is heated with that space heater. But the whole snake house is just on the furnace and the HVAC. It's it's the whole thing is ambient, and so it is in the mid to low 70s at night. It comes up to 80 in the morning, and then it's set on 82 at noon, but it actually gets up to like 83 to 85 in certain places in the house, and then comes back down to 78 in the evening, and then drops
Do you
down
have to run the air all year there?
Yep. Yeah, it's back and forth. The heat and the air comes on every day on that side. So set on 4 different zones of temperature.
And summer times are manageable, like, or do you kind of go through it during the summertime?
Yep. So check this out. When I first rented out the other side I live in a duplex and I rent both sides. So my side is 3 bedrooms. My bedroom's downstairs. Upstairs is all snakes. The other side is a 2-bedroom house and it's all snakes. The whole house is snakes.
Does the landlord know that there's?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah, that was prerequisite when the day that I met him. I told him I have a whole bunch of snakes, and when my neighbors moved out, I was like, I'm thinking, what kind of neighbors am I going to get? And this is fucked up. And then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to get any neighbors. I'm just going to rent out that side too and fill it up with snakes.
Smart.
So that's what I'm trying to buy the house. Working on buying it.
What a cool landlord, man. You ain't finding that shit in California, I'll tell you that much.
He's awesome. He's awesome. But yeah, that's it's still, I still kind of make some tweaks here and there, and I move things around because I just put temperature sensors everywhere. And there's different parts of the house that you can be higher or lower on a certain wall that's close to a vent or whatever. And I have things kind of oriented in a way where if something needs slightly different temperatures, some of the Vipers I have lower to the ground because it's cooler or whatever on a wall that's opposite from the direction the vent faces, that type of stuff. I kind of figured out where all the spots were. But in the summer, when I first rented that side, we were having a nasty, nasty summer. It's 2 years ago. We were hitting triple digits in May, and it was solid triple digit weather June, July, and August. It was horrible. I hadn't moved anything in over there. I closed all the windows, turned off all the fans. I had literally 0 environment control, 0 ventilation, and I put temperature sensors all over the house because I wanted to see what would happen in the heat, because the heat's way scarier than the cold is. Anybody that's done this for any amount of time knows that you have to damn near freeze a snake solid to harm it short term with cold, but short term heat can kill in minutes. You can lose your whole collection in minutes if shit gets really hot. So I let it run because I wanted to see what would happen in triple digit weather. I let it run for over 2 weeks with nothing whatsoever. And the house is shaded on all sides because it's my 2-story house on one side and another two-story house next door and giant trees. And so with the way that the house faces, the sun never really hits it. The highest temperature I recorded in 2 weeks in the whole house was 86.
And that's the hottest day. It was like the hottest day of the year.
Hundreds. It was over 100 every single one of those days. It was over 100 degrees, and the highest recorded temperature anywhere in the house is 86. And it took over a week.
With no AC running?
No AC and no fans. It took over a week to accumulate enough heat to break 80 degrees over there.
Damn.
So it's just super stable. Yeah.
Say that again, Ryan. What'd you say?
My room gets hotter than that in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, and for months, right, Ryan? I mean, your summers are pretty long.
Usually it's like August, September, probably most of August, maybe a little bit in July.
And you don't run AC. You just let it go ambient.
I turn off all basking spots unless it's a gravid female. And
how do you manage that though? Do you use windows or are you just turning off everybody's supplemental heat?
Yeah, I just turn off everybody's. I usually don't run a lot of supplemental heat anyways, so it's not like it takes a lot of time. I just it's already off for the most part. But and then if it's real bad, I'll open the window I got a window on each end. I'll open the windows like right before dark, and then a couple hours after dark, I'll shut it.
I'm trying so hard not to take this comment personal at all right now, but I would fucking kill for electricity bill that's $110 a month.
So that the guy who left that comment, Quinn, that's who lived in the other side of my house. He
Wow.
literally meant when he says my electricity bill there, he literally meant there in my snake house. That was my neighbor over there.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
and
electric bill is more than that.
I don't know how happy his wife is with me, but I moved in over here and now he has like 6 or 7 snakes.
Well, that just means you're good at what you're doing. That's all.
Yeah. So Ryan, have you ever had you do some maternal incubation when you can, don't you?
I did it with 3 chondro clutches 1 year.
Never again.
It resulted in 2 babies. So
Okay, gotcha. I just didn't know if you'd ever had.
I did it, but
I was wondering if you had ever had females that were doing MI when it got really hot in the room. I was just curious about that. Do you keep your emeralds and chondros exactly the same way?
not only exactly the same way, but literally on the same, basically the same continuous shelf.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. What about you, Marshall?
Yeah, the same. I mean, I'm looking at this rack that's right here in front of me, and I've got 5 different species in it. They're all kept exactly the same way. I mean, other than like Amazons, I'll keep them like you were saying, keep them on the lower shelves, keep them a little bit like, don't let the paper towels dry out as quickly or as often. But for the most part, yeah, they're all in the same rack, same thermostat, same temps.
My emerald cages are bigger, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, on average, my male emerald's really tiny, but my girls are. I mean, they're a bigger snake than most chondros. So
yeah, much bigger.
And same with you, MJ. All of your emeralds, adult emeralds and chondros, are all in that focus wall back there.
Yeah, so I have the emeralds on a different like herp stat, like as far as like their probe is warmer, like we were talking about, than the chondros. And I also give them 2 extra hours more than the chondros. Like chondros, especially this time of year, they only get 8 hours of heat, and then it gets just back to normal ambient in this room, which is just like yours on average, like mid 70 at the coldest, and then it gets to like 81, maybe the warmest. But then I feel like the emerald or the boas just need to have it warmer. I feel just more better. I feel, and also like sheds. I haven't dealt, like one of the things I dealt with a lot, and I think this goes back to having puppy pads for me living in a real dry area. Like I dealt with a lot of fucking stuck sheds. I feel like I was always dealing with stuck sheds with emeralds. And ever since I cranked their heat up, but then also gave them cocoa chip substrate and, spray it every other day, I'm getting complete sheds. And I fucking love that. Like I hate grabbing an emerald by its fucking head and having to take stuck shed off of it. It's one of the things I hate the most. And I'm not dealing with that right now. So I think I'm not trying to say I figured it out for myself, but what's working, what I've been doing for the last like 6 to 7 months, I like, so that's that,
Not using heat panels with that.
What'd you say, Ryan?
I said not using heat panels helps with that.
What do you mean? People have had plenty of success using heat panels.
I know. I'm not saying they're terrible. I'm just saying they definitely dry shit out. And
I think
it just depends. It depends on
all
what
heat sources dry it out.
I think I think safety reasons, bulbs are more sketchy than a fucking panel. I'm sorry.
What?
I don't have problems with panels drying shit out in the summer.
What'd you say, Ryan?
If you go with a bulb that's the right wattage, it can't do any harm.
I mean, last time I checked, shit that be fucking blowing up garages and shit like that are coming from bulbs blowing up. So
blowing up garages? What are you doing?
I'm telling you, man. I watch the news, bro.
I think people are having fires from bulbs from bad placement a lot of the times, and they're catching plastic on fire. I think that's where a lot of light related fires.
Because even heat tape causes mad fires. If you what you've seen as well.
Sometimes,
panels will only just kill your animal.
That's one of the reasons that I prefer to run ambient, because a lot less cord management, and I'm working on putting a whole wall of focus cubes like yours, and they're all going to have heat panels in them. but they're only going to come on if it's a gravid female.
Yeah.
They're just all going to be on ambient. None of my animals get outside of this room get supplemental heat unless they're a gravid female. Everything's on ambient. And
I want to do that. I want to do that, but that means fucking a lot of herp stats. Like I would need like individual, like every single one would technically need its own probe.
Well,
you need less.
What?
Well, you need. He's right. You need less if you're running all ambient, but I'm going to have several herp stat 6s, and they will have their own probes, but just for the wall that has a whole bunch of females on it.
Right. Well, that's what I need to do then.
I just like.
It's not that you need to do it. You got to figure out what works for you. That's the problem with any of this stuff. Is you can try to take other people's advice, but we all live in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
We've got different, extenuating circumstances in our situation. It's
well, what I meant by I feel like I would like to do that. That way I could rely more on ambient versus having to always crank everything up when I'm just trying to really focus on one girl that's ovulating or one girl that's kind of gravid. Because I don't think, especially where I live, right? I have good temps. I mean, it's really almost the ambient's perfect here throughout the whole time of the year for the most part. But for the but I'm somebody who likes to apply extra type of basking for somebody who has for a snake that's gravid, But unfortunately, the whole row gets it if she's getting it. That's what I'm saying. I need to.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, that's what I meant by that. I need to I rather individually have its own, and which isn't a big deal. I mean, I would just have to get 2 more fucking.
That's actually how I kind of have it running right now with some of my animals that I've been trying to get away from that and get like more individual channels going. And when I get all the focus cages, that's going to be the thing, is like everything's going to have a channel, but I'm not going to have them. I'm also going to right now I rely on the heat panel below the gravid female to get the temperature right in the egg box that I'm running, even though my ambient temperatures are probably sufficient to get a female to use it. But man, you can see them choose that spot every time.
Patrick, you said you want the floor to hit what temp at what point of the day?
83, 84 by day and upper 70s at night. And I have I put my nest box in the same spot every time, and the females lay with inside of like a 6-inch, give or take on either side in the same spot every time. And I one time had my brother check on a chondro for me, and he put the slid the box back into the wrong corner, and she came out of the box and coiled up in the same place on the floor out where she was before when the box was there.
Oh wow! And that's directly under the panel or halfway through. Where do you have
that?
Yeah,
right on side back right corner where there's a panel directly underneath it.
Okay.
And but I don't want to have to rely on that anymore, because what if I don't? What if I've got a girl in a bottom cage or whatever? So I'm actually working on. I realize it's a little bit overboard, but I like the idea. I'm just going to make a small platform that has a piece of heat tape in it. And there's a little PVC platform. Probably going to have Steven build this for me at Focus, where I can just set the tubs that I like to use in a nest box and just have that on a thermostat, and with just a little tiny piece of heat tape. So just a really, 2-inch tall PVC platform with a little tiny piece of heat tape in it that'll just hold my my nest boxes. That way I don't have to rely on the heat below.
So question.
Or you can just throw them in a rack.
I want to do that a lot, and if I do that, it'll be I'll have a rack for the tubs that I like to use for nest boxes, and I'll let the female go in there on her own and then pull that tub and slide it into the rack. I've considered that strongly. I like letting girls go in the tub on their own. Every time that I've had one not do that, I can tell you exactly why it happened every single time.
Why? And give me like one of the reasons why that happened.
Had a female on the bottom cage one time and didn't have so there was no heat. It was never got above 79, 80 degrees tops on the bottom of the cage. So she laid from the perch right under the panel where the temperature was more suitable. I had a female. I've had infertile females drop slugs wherever, but with fertile females, I had one that I didn't realize was so close to laying, and I thought she was dehydrated, and she had been in the nest box for days, and I pulled her out and soaked her, and that stressed her out, and she got out of the nest box and crawled under her paper and laid a clutch under there. And and the one time I was talking about where my brother put the nest box back in the wrong corner, and she came out and laid in the spot where she was already laying. It's just the box wasn't there anymore. That's it. That's it. Other than that, they go in the box. I used to use sphagnum moss. Now I use leaf litter. If you have them on a paper substrate, I use puppy pads, and you put an organic material in that box. I've had females drop off the perch midday, 5 minutes after I put the box in. Drop right in there. If there's organic material in there, they'll drop right in there. So I literally get a Sterilite tub, I dash a handful of leaf litter in there, throw it in there, they go right in, dude, every time.
Have you ever had any that didn't like moss?
This girl doesn't.
No, but I've had some that I've had them get moss, like they root around in it, and I've had them get it stuck in their mouth or in their heat pits a couple of times, and not really a big fan of that. You mean you had one that you felt like was it a chondro that you feel like they had some kind of sensory thing?
I had a viridis that would, if you put a 2-gallon bucket in there with nothing, she would go in there and lay eggs. If you put moss in there, she would go in there and leave and wouldn't go in there. And as soon as you pulled the moss out, she'd go back in there.
No, I've never experienced that before. I have had the very first chondro clutch I had. I didn't know that the moss had to be dry. I was used to getting colubrid eggs and using slightly damp moss. And she laid all of them. She laid one in the damp moss and the rest of the clutch all in a pile. And it was in a tub that had heat tape on it or a heat pad. And she laid them up against the heat pad. So I got home and I found that, and she's not on the eggs. And I'm like, oh, they're fucked. 100% hatch rate.
Wow.
Damn. Yeah, I had my GFCI outlet kick off in my basement when I was sleeping one night. When I woke up, my incubator was, I think, 62. And
mine got unplugged for like a week one time, and I didn't realize it.
The only eggs I lost were because when it heated back up, of course, it caused condensation, and I had I lost 2 eggs because they were right where the water was dripping off the lid. Yep.
The eggs themselves will sometimes get wet when you do that too. And the other thing you have to look out for when you have a swing is a compensation spike. You have to sit when you have it drop low. You want to sit there and manage it. And because depending on your incubator setup, it may go up higher than the desired setting and then settle back down when you're trying to reheat from a low temperature. So those are the 3 things you have to look out for if you get a drop. You want to look out for compensation spike, condensation on the lid from the temperature discrepancy inside and out, and condensation on the egg itself, which you can manage with a dry substrate or just brushing them with antifungal powder or whatever.
But you also do encourage you having a solid ambient humidity within your incubator to make sure that
I do.
Right.
I do, but not everybody does that. It depends on what kind of incubator you have. I run a humid chamber so that I can have ventilation, and because the moisture in the air helps stabilize the temperature. The water in the bottom of my cooler serves as a heat sink. So
there's holes in your egg box for the chondros as well. How many?
Yep. 3 on each side, but I cover them with all but one with tape, and then I pull the tape off on.
So you start with one. You start with one on each side, and as you get closer,
1 hole on each side.
So 40.
And sim boxes are not exactly like sealed either.
Right. That's a good. That's actually true. Yeah. You think?
It's very minimal airflow that comes through the lid of a sim box, but it's not perfectly sealed.
You would still recommend at least 1 hole, like you would say, right?
Yeah. Even without a humid chamber, I like to have a little bit of airflow through to those eggs. It just helps to manage fungal issues.
I mean, we always wrap our head around a full, like, formed, good-looking chondro that's just dead in the egg. You know what I mean? Like, what's? I only think of heat exhaustion or something. The only thing I can think about is there's no airflow going.
Well, the heat is definitely one of the causes of that. But I have had clutches. I had this happen last year. I had two clutches that were laid 3 or 4 days apart. They were incubated side by side in the incubator in like, identical conditions. Like I say, just a few days apart. Everything about the incubation was exactly the same. And there was a clutch of 16 and a clutch of 9, and I got 8 from both clutches. I had 8 out of 9 from one and 8 out of 16 from the other one. And the babies from the 8 out of 9 were huge and robust and easy starters, and the 8 out of 16, they were also easy starters, but the other half of the clutch was fully formed, perfect animals dead in the egg on the same incubation regimen that I use for everything, including the clutch that was right next to them. So sometimes that shit seems to happen for reasons that I can't explain. But if they get too hot in the last few days, you can guarantee that you'll have dead in the egg babies.
Yeah. And you're saying they're side by side, right? And I do know that, depending how big your incubator is, just one side of the necks could be different in temps. Like
it can. And I monitor all the way across. And I've learned through killing a bunch of chondro eggs that I can have 3 boxes in my cooler, but I cannot have 4 in there, even though they fit. 4 throws off the temperature dynamic. Somehow it reduces the circulation or something. I can have 3 boxes, and if they're centered, then the one that's on either side of the center one, maybe they're off by 1/10 of a degree or whatever. But to me, fluctuations inside of 2/10 in one box are fine, and fluctuations of 1/2 of a degree across the incubator are absolutely not problematic whatsoever. There's a range of temperatures you can use to hatch the eggs. There's just a high and low threshold that you want to stay inside of.
Yeah, I wonder if they would bend. I've always wanted to try a day and night with the eggs, but the condensation is the reason I don't mess with them.
Yeah. It works with colubrids. I mean, I don't do this. I put my bull snake eggs in the incubator too, because I have 3 big ass incubators, but I could take my bull snake eggs and put them in any one of my snake rooms besides this one on the shelf, and they will hatch.
That's how I've hatched the few colubrids that I've hatched. I've just had them. I put them in a cooler in the snake room in an egg box, but just to keep the temperature fluctuation, minimalized. But yeah, no supplemental heat.
Have you, Ryan? Do you breed your emeralds like in a narrow window? Both of you guys, actually. Do you guys have like a narrow window of times that you'll pair them up?
Most of mine seem to do most of their breeding, late winter, early spring, right after warming up, so to speak.
Yeah. Same with you, Marshall?
Yeah, spring, actually, I'm trying to think. Normally I pair them in like November. So yeah, mine will breed through the winter and, into the spring. And usually by, I don't know, usually by February, March, if they're gravid or not.
Starting to head that direction. A lot of people seem to do that. A lot of guys that pair in November, December. And there also seems to be something said to say for like just the presence of the male. Like some people are waiting for follicles. I am 100% convinced that introduction of a male can catalyze follicle development in the female. So like female doesn't have to be carrying follicles for you to throw a male in there.
Yeah, I start pairing in October, but I would say the copulations they'll usually like the first time I call it sport fuck. And then they, it might be a month or 2 before they actually start getting into it for keeps, but
MJ, you've got some that are headed the right direction over there right now, don't you?
Yeah. I got one girl that just had her post ovulation shed. And then, and then I had the girl next to her who I thought was like behind her, but she just ate again. But the male just locked her again last night. And he hasn't locked her in like 2 weeks. And there was a lot of action when the other ones were getting down. So I got a lot of action all the way from early November to like, even, like he's still smashing now. You know what I mean? So
I would
Have
keep them
you
going, and don't be deceived by that feeding either. Boas can eat all the way through sometimes.
Yeah,
have either of you noticed, or all three of you noticed with your emeralds? I've noticed that. Okay, I only have one breeder male emerald, and then I've bred him to 2 different females, and one female. I mean, they lock up like the classic, locked up for a long time, the real tight grip, curled up with each other real good a lot. And the other female, it's like, I don't think they like each other that much. They'll breed.
Compatibility is a thing for sure. I've noticed that too.
Because I've only ever produced, the first time I paired him with that female, I got 9 slugs, no babies. The second time I got 2 babies and 7 slugs. But the other girl he's bred, like, it was all babies, no slugs. They just seem like they're much more into each other than him and this other female for whatever reason.
Huh.
I only have a trio, and I have noticed that he seems to prefer the one female over the other. The size discrepancy, though, my male was raised by somebody that he regurged a lot when he was a baby, and so he fed this thing a fuzzy a month for like 9 years.
My male's a monster. Like, he's as big or bigger than the girls.
Mine, when I got mine, he was 8 years old, 8 or 9 years old, and about 220 grams.
Oh, Jesus.
And wow. And was eating fuzzies once a month. And I started feeding him adult mice, and then bumped him up to weanling rats, and I put size on him real quick. But the female that went for me, he seems to like her a lot more, and that was my first attempt at breeding emeralds, and it took.
Well, we say that he likes her a lot more, but that's the thing. I wonder, is it the girl or is it him?
Yeah, what if she trying?
Maybe she's just putting up something like, "Hey, you're not the boy for me. Get lost."
Well, here's the thing. With the other female, she shows obvious signs of being receptive, but he's wishy-washy about whether or not he seems to want to mess with her. He'll like court her and coil her up. I saw him lock her last year, but I had only had her for a few months, and I didn't expect her to really be settled in enough to go. That thing is probably the biggest emerald, definitely the biggest, maybe not the longest, but definitely the biggest emerald I've ever seen in person. Like, she's frighteningly huge, and then he's like 400 grams, and she can.
Oh, he'll breed that small though.
Yeah, I've gotten her to lock her up multiple times. Yeah, he'll be 15 this year.
Oh, well, he's real old, so that might be the I have a male that I got probably 16 months ago or whatever. But he's not very big, but I'm like, if he was a chondro equivalent to a female, I'd be like, oh, he probably could do it.
Yeah.
I've just been, because I would like to try a different boy, but I don't know if this guy's still too small or what. So
yeah, well, this male doesn't look like an older animal, and maybe like having been raised on such a small diet, maybe that extend his lifespan a bit or something. But with the boas, I don't feel like 15 is these female emeralds seem to be getting into their prime at like 10 years old.
Yeah.
So but what about the Amazons with either of you guys? Are you pairing your Amazons also in November, December?
Yeah, same time. What I've done is I've just put I have one male, and now I have 2 males, and for a while there I just had one male. Had a trio, a male and 2 females, and the one female was a year older, so she was ready to go first, and I almost just basically cohab them. I throw the male from one, when it's this female's turn, he lives with her. And when it's the other alternating years, I'll just throw him in the other cage, and he just stays in there for months and months.
I've noticed with the Amazons that they I don't worry about seeing copulations with them, and I have had a couple pairs. I have one going right now where I've seen the male lock her up 2 different times that were like maybe 3 or 4 weeks apart. I've had them together for several weeks, but they seem to be able to be wham bam. I've had multiple Amazon litters that came from before. They locked up one time and then stopped showing interest, and I pulled them and it went.
Yeah, I don't. I start pairing them same thing October, and sometimes the first time I bred Amazons, they were all over each other right off the get, and it all happened just prototypic. This year, I didn't think I was going to get any Amazons, and then I'm out there the other night, and I'm like, this female was out of her hide box and up on the branches, and I was like, okay, I see you. You look like you got some weight in some areas going. So I put the male back in there. I hadn't had him in there in probably a month, and they were back in the hide box. I never saw them copulate, but they were back in the hide box, and every night she's looking a little bit bigger. So I'm like, I wonder if she's fixing to ovulate on me.
Hey, Patrick, before I forget, were you feeding your gravid female throughout the whole time she was gravid, or
if I know they're gravid, I offer food way less frequently and very small meals. In my experience, Amazons will not eat normal size meals while they're gravid and will often refuse any size meal. But like, say it's a female that I normally feed small rats, or some couple of my bigger girls, I feed them medium rats. I'm a fan of feeding larger meals less frequently because it's easier for me and it doesn't seem to be detrimental in any way to the animals. But for adults. Anyways, if it's a female that normally eats a small rat, I'll offer her like an adult mouse instead. And because they tend to, I've never had a female eat a normal size meal while she's gravid. But yeah, maybe once every 3 or 4 weeks, offer them something small. It just seems to help them. If they're going to take it, it doesn't seem to be detrimental, and it seems to help them not be. It's a long fucking time before they drop those babies, and helps them be recover a little bit better on the other side of it.
And I'm sorry, I know you. I hope you know I was referring to the emeralds, not the Amazons. So
and I tried to feed. I've only produced one emerald litter, so my sample size is 1. It's not really much to speak on. I believe I offered her food multiple times, and I think I got her to eat once real early on after the ovulation, and then she wouldn't eat anything after that. And I believe I just stopped offering with the emerald.
What did you offer her? Like a small rat, or like even a
probably a weanling rat or an adult mouse.
Okay.
She's a good sized girl. She's not big, but she's a good sized animal. I normally feed her medium rats. The big female that I have, she will eat a jumbo rat. I don't feed her jumbos. I usually feed her larges. I tried her on mediums, and she was losing weight on mediums. I can feed her a jumbo rat, and she eats it like it's nothing, dude. That snake can eat the biggest rat you could possibly find. She's a monster.
Hey, listen, we're at that mark, so why don't we get a wrap-up question for Patrick? And does anyone want to go first? Or want me to go first?
Go for it.
All right, I'll go first. I knew that was going to be me anyway, so fuck it. Patrick, what's going to be your overall most anticipated either clutch or litter this year? Like, what's the biggest thing you want to write down for success when it comes to breeding in 2024?
Well, I always have a million chondro plans, but if I could get those laticinctus to go, because it would be my first thing that I like is a U.S. first, and it's one of the coolest things I've ever done. Anyways, even if 100 people had done it already, I think they're the coolest snakes ever. So the laticinctus would be amazing, and that's a specific one. General one is I would like to produce more chondros this year than I did last year.
And what did you produce last year? How many?
I had 6 clutches, 66 babies.
Damn, respect. Some good numbers, man. All right, who wants to go next?
You can only keep.
Go ahead, Marshall.
Doug, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'd rather ask him about his box turtles, but that's outside the preview of the show.
Please don't.
The box turtles are still hibernating right now, and we are very curious to see if any little babies from last year will wake up with the adults.
Nice. That'd be cool. What's your, where do you see your chondro collection heading? Like, what's your main chondro goal?
Designer.
No, I have
not localities.
No, it is localities. I have lots of both, but my ultimate I told Ryan this the other day. My number one priority with green trees is to get more super exceptional poultry animals that are either wild caught or like F1 from traceable adults, like the stuff that Ryan has, because my favorite chondros are really, really exceptional Sorong and Manokwari. And so I want more of that. My second biggest goal with chondros is to breed really, really exceptional pure Beox. And then after that, it's blue stuff from whatever lineage, although I prefer blue with no Walsh blue. I have Walsh blue line stuff and traditional blue line stuff, but my favorite thing in designers is blue with no blue line blood. So just all from
mad respect over the Azuria, because I don't know, that's my least favorite chondro for whatever reason. So.
Are they? Yeah. I love them. They're my favorite. I've got pure Beox stuff going right now. So
nice.
I love them.
I want to say for the record, if I were to go to Ryan thinking it's his favorite, I guarantee it wouldn't be his favorite. I'm so scared to even know what the fuck this guy even likes.
Why is that? What does that even mean?
Because every time I'm excited to send you something, you just fucking don't like it. I don't know. What
are you talking about? What do I don't like?
Just shits all over. He's like, oh god, this more.
You and Marshall should start a fucking band for sure. Anyways, all right, Marshall, you're up.
You can only keep one species.
Only one species of snake. I can only have one species.
Ooh,
it's chondros. It's chondros.
Which species of chondro?
Oh, here we go.
It's got to complicate things. Come on.
Oh, here we go.
If I could only keep locality types, but I could one locality or one species, which actually is a little more broad than locality types. So it would be pulcher, however you like to pronounce that. Side note on pronouncing Latin names, if you actually use classical Latin pronunciation for scientific names, most people would not have a fucking clue what you were talking about. So don't trip about how you pronounce a scientific name, because it's very literally that bastardized to whatever language you natively speak. So just side note about scientific names, don't trip about how you pronounce it, because if you pronounce it properly, nobody will know what you're talking about.
Just say it.
Yeah, just say it. Just say it. It's meant to be typed. That's why they exist, is for print and because
so Polker for the win.
Yeah, so Polker for the win, but really, really exceptional ones. So to me, there is nothing better in a wild type chondro than a really high blue red neonate Manokwari or Sorong, or a really bold blue yellow neonate Manokwari or Sorong.
So you're not the king. You are not the king of Beox anymore after this.
Beox are a very, very, very close second, and they are way more variable, and I love that more. And I love photographing and keeping my Beox more than anything else. My Beox are my favorite snakes to keep and to photograph, but I love blue on chondros more than anything else.
Can I ask Marshall a hot seat question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have one for Ryan.
I know you're not a chondro locality guy, but if you could only keep one species of chondro that's not a mutt, what would it be?
I don't know. I mean, I guess Beox, just because of the variability. Although I do like, really nice Cyclops. Yeah, I guess that'd be it. Probably Beox.
Okay. Thank you. Finally, someone with some smart.
Missouri is back on the board.
But Cyclops would be a close second. I don't even know. What are those? Are those
Uterenzas?
Okay.
See, I'd have to go Viridis. So that's 3 out of the 4 species.
Well, Viridis only have yellow babies, though, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he can't do it. So what about you, MJ?
I'm BX for life, bro. There's no way.
That's right.
So Azuria wore out. There you go.
It's okay. If we're talking top of the food chain, like the strongest, the ones like you are not going to have to worry about establishing when it comes to just getting babies, BX are everything. I feel like I just
I wouldn't worry about that, man. I've had Azuria be just as hard as anything else.
But okay,
You know,
what do you think of that, though, Patrick? What do you?
I've produced, so there's not a ton, but I've produced 8 clutches of Biox, and my most recent clutch is most recent 2 clutches. There were 2 in each clutch that I had to assist feed, and I was super bummed out about it. I have no problem assist feeding whatsoever. I will stuff shit down a snake's throat without thinking twice about it. I have no problem assist feeding, but I was super bummed out because I had never not had a Bioc take its first meal on its own, and I've had Biocs that were born so big that they ate a fuzzy for their 4th meal. They tend to be robust, but I think there can be fucked up feeders in any type of chondro. But I think Biocs of all the locality types are the least likely to have difficult starters.
Everybody says Arus are so hard, and I'm like, man, I have not found that to be true.
No, they're big, robust babies too. The only type of chondro that seems to be consistently difficult is Kofiau.
Oh, fucking nightmare!
Which I have to ask you, how's that going right now with how are those babies that you just hatched?
So it's funny you say that because there's so many Kofiau pairings in that lineage that I thought surely some of these are going to be runners. So I just hatched 2 clutches. They were incubated. They're 3 days apart, incubated side by side. I got just like the other 2 clutches I was telling you about, where I got 8 and 8 out of 9 and 16. I got 9 out of 9 and 9 out of 14. And there were no slugs in these clutches. The second clutch, 9 babies, 8 of them ate first try.
And what did you offer? How many days after the shed?
Most of them the day they shed or the day after, and some of them 2 days after, depending on when I was home. I prefer to offer as soon as possible after the first shed. That's not because I'm in a rush. It's because that's when I have the most success. I have the most success feeding baby chondros with a very gentle, patient approach. Very soon, if not minutes. I've had snakes where I was feeding them literally. I put my finger down on the shed on the perch so that they could pull the rest of their tail out of it on their own, and then I started feeding them right then and there.
That's like the exact opposite of you, huh, Ryan?
I usually wait like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I got 8 out of 9 to eat first try in that clutch. And the one that didn't eat first try is by far my favorite one in the clutch. That's how that always goes.
Oh yeah.
And but that one took on the 3rd try. Some of those have 4 meals in them already. The lemon tree clutch, though, I hatched 9 out of 14. Actually hatched 10, but one of them had hard belly, and I didn't notice to try to intervene. So I hatched 10 out of 14, but 1 died after just a couple of days. The 8 out of those 10 are eating for me. 7 of those 8 ate first try.
Nice.
I'm thinking surely there's a runner in here with all this Kofiau blood, and sure enough, it's my favorite one. It's my favorite red in the clutch. That's a fucking runner, and it's a savage striker. But after about 30 seconds, and look, this little bastard is in full hunting position right now. That little motherfucker, it's right here next to my face, and he is in full hunting position.
It's because it wants a gecko. It wants a gecko. That's why.
It does want a gecko, and you know what? It's warming up outside, so I may go hunting pretty soon. But
I would even call them runners, man. The ones I had were like springs. They would shoot out of the tub like.
Yeah, this one does that. It will let me tease, and it'll strike and wrap and drop for about 60 seconds, and then just explodes and does this like flailing shit. And I got to like make sure it doesn't actually fly out of the tub. Like they will literally come out of the tub. I have a real quick hot seat question for Ryan, because Ryan has bred more pythons than like anybody else ever. I know you haven't done Bolins yet, and you mentioned them as an exception for temperatures. You have done diamonds.
No.
You haven't done diamonds, so another exception to temperatures. So aside from those, have you always used the same temperature regimen for all the python species that you've produced?
Yeah, basically. There's been minor changes. I mean, I bred a lot of species early, doing the feed during the summer, not feed during the cool, and then I've done a lot of species the opposite, feed during the. So basically, there's minor basking spot changes and minor food feeding changes, but other than that, it's all been basically identical.
My thoughts on the reason that the feeding manipulation seems to work both ways, and some people do it opposite of each other, like you and Nick said you did opposite, I believe, is because, with the exception of wild caught animals that may be dialed into a certain temperature, like cycle or whatever, seasonal cycle, I don't think it's about what time of year it is. I think it's about the manipulation as a stimulus. I think that like you can give a snake an abundance signal with frequent meals that can kick off a reproductive cycle. I don't think it's about what time of year it is. I think it's about lining up stimulus signals.
For me, I've noticed it's more where they come from. The Indo stuff seems to respond better to the feed it during the winter. The Australian stuff, the further south you go, it seems to be more if you feed it during the summer and give it a break during the winter, which makes sense if you look at the biogeography of where they come from.
That does make sense, and it's interesting you say that, because mostly I'm doing Indo stuff, but my Brettles pythons, I tend to slow my chondro feeding way down during the summer, but my Brettles, I take them off during the winter. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And I'll manipulate, like I'll put Australia desert stuff down low, so they will get colder during the winter. Indo stuff's up higher. So I do stuff like that.
Yeah, positional manipulation. Yeah, me too. But generally speaking, the same regimen. That's awesome.
Yeah, just minor tweaks. But like I said, the two that you mentioned, Bolini and Diamonds, that obviously are the outliers of the Python clade. I haven't bred either of those yet. So
yeah.
All right, well, check it out, Patrick. This was an amazing episode for you to finally break things down. Other than just chondros, this was very impactful, I feel like, for your collection and for people to know what's going on with you and all your projects. We had just shy of 100 people tapped in tonight for your episode. So, as always, what do you want to say to all your love and support and all the people out there who just love seeing you rock and roll in this shit?
As always, I love all of you guys too, and I really, really enjoyed doing these podcasts because first of all, I love sitting around talking to you guys, specifically like you three guys, but also the other people that we have on here. It's always a lot of fun, but a lot of this stuff that I do is very selfish, but being able to share it, it's the coolest thing. That's to me the most fulfilling aspect of this hobby and herpetoculture, is being able to share it with my friends, with other friends that are equally passionate about it, and with people who are, most importantly, people who are trying to get into it. Or I think of the way that I was when I was a kid, the guys at the zoo that helped me out before there was an internet, the way that Rico helped me out when when he was my go-to guy. I will for the rest of my life be paying that forward. And so I love being able to share this stuff with anybody that's interested in listening. So I love all you guys, and I really, really appreciate it.
I'm sure everyone already knows you're going to be back. Obviously, you're no stranger to this podcast, and I'm going to speak for all of us here. Well, we love having you here, bro. We always love you being a part of what we have going on, even though when you just take the mic and run with it sometimes. Not all the time, but that's why we love you, though, man, because you just always got something to say, and it all hits. Everything you say just really kind of relates every single time. So I want to say thank you so much for finding the time to hang out with us tonight. And guys, Arboreal Obsession on Instagram, go give him a follow. And yeah, appreciate you. Go enjoy the rest of your night. Give it up for Patrick Holmes. It's a wrap. Nature is metal, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Patrick. Have a good night, man. Thank you.
See you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Take care.
Peace. I had no idea he literally rented out the other unit in his house and just fucking filled it with reptiles. That is crazy. What a cool landlord, first and foremost.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's just one of my biggest fears about the place that me and my wife were renting before we bought this house was like, okay, who am I going to go convince? Like, no matter what the monthly is or what, like, hey, by the way, I have 150-ish fucking reptiles and 2 alpacas. Can I just cruise in here and like just do my thing? Like, ain't gonna, bro, no. Like, especially with COVID and everyone just spiking the prices up on everything and they could be picky. Like, I would have been fucked if I tried to go.
I didn't tell back before I owned a house. I didn't tell the landlord.
Yeah, that's the thing. I would have to 007 it. Like, there's no way I would have to just fucking.
Yeah.
But you know, Lily.
I moved out of my house. The first house I ever bought, we left after we had a kid because the HOA passed some rules where they were like, "Oh, you can only have a certain amount of pets or whatever."
Yeah.
And we had our daughter, and I was like, "What's going to happen when she starts telling all the neighbor kids that my dad has a house full of pythons?"
Yeah,
that's when I bought the property and moved out here.
Matthew Summers can't even take pictures in his own backyard because his neighbor fucking will look. There's an HOA and there's that limit exotic reptile thing on the HOA. And I'm sure he's well past that. God bless you.
Yeah.
You don't even take his pictures outside no more. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, fuck HOA. I hate that shit. I'd much rather live in an older neighborhood if that's the case, because I just don't like HOA. You know what I mean? Although it does come crucial when the whole neighborhood looks nice, because there are a couple houses down the street that look fucking terrible. So I won't lie about that.
It's definitely, you can understand why they became a thing, but
yeah, but it's also like
take it too far.
Right, but then the ones that are like involved in like everything you do, like, oh, you can't have your trash can out on this day or some shit. It's like, what? Like, oh, fuck yourself, you know? But you know, to each their own. But great podcast. We all got to speak. I thought it went well.
I didn't think we didn't hear enough from Marshall though.
Well,
I didn't think we heard enough from you.
Oh shit! I was just on here.
At least all you guys got a hot seat question. I didn't get shit.
You got asked a hot seat question. We all got a hot seat question.
Nobody asked. What was my hot seat question?
Which species of Viridis?
That wasn't even a hot seat question.
That's how it started.
Was that? Oh, I
yeah.
All right. Damn it. I was trying to be fucking poor MJ, but never mind. That didn't work. Thanks for the reminder. That's cool.
That's how it started.
At least I got in it. But no, I will say though, this was a great fucking podcast. It was cool to let Patrick do his thing as far as all the stuff he's upset. He's legit obsessed over these fucking reptiles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 2 hours is never enough for the guy. Unfortunately, like not even 4 hours would be enough for Patrick. Like it's crazy the amount of stuff that he could just go off about. And it's cool to see because you know, I don't want to say that reptile nowadays when it comes to people talking about their reptiles isn't like, I don't want to say it's influencer motivated, but you know, fuck, dude, a lot of people don't really understand that there's a lot of other things out there other than the primordial majority of, you know, ball pythons, leopard geckos. Like there's this whole fucking world of things. And this is why I love you guys, having you guys be a part of this. And I think, you know, obviously Bill, you know, if it's
even you mutt chondro guys, there's a whole world
of
chondros out there, you know.
No, we're fucking special, bro. First and foremost.
I know you guys think you're special, but come on, man.
Dude,
there's 4 species you could dabble with.
But doesn't matter. Look at the attention we bring, bro. We bring opportunity. All right. Chondros, the designers bring opportunity for all you fuckers out there.
I'm just giving you shit.
I know, I'm just all right. Well, listen, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys so much. Guys, Molecular Reptiles on Instagram.
Muttlecular. Muttlecular.
Muttlecular. Molecular.
I'm never gonna live that down, am I?
Damn. Are you gonna really change that? You should at least put that on a shirt.
100% he should change it. Yeah.
No.
At least a Tinley or something. I'll invest in it. I mean, I'll fucking do it. I don't give a fuck.
Oh man.
But seriously, go follow my man Ryan Young on IG, and of course Marshall Mendez, Red Mountain Herps. You two enjoy the rest of your night. Give it up for my boys, Ryan Young and Marshall Mendez. It's a wrap.
See you guys.
Take care. Thanks for having us.
Have a good night, boys. Thank you.
Later.
Peace. And that does that for Patrick Holmes episode. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, get the likes up for sure, because Patrick Holmes deserves all the likes that he can get. Never too late. Smash that like button for Patrick Holmes. Whoa, I didn't say turn the lights on. No, Alexa, and I didn't ask you to turn the lights on. Alexa, turn off all the lights.
Okay.
I'm so sorry for that. She's out of control. But thank you so much. All right. Again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You'll be reminded on every podcast I drop here on this channel. There are 6 episodes this week. It's no game over here. Trap Talk, Reptile Network, coolest network in the world. So if you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, you'll be reminded of every single podcast. Tomorrow is Stephen Cush's podcast, his 2nd episode on Cush's Corner. So do not miss that. He's bringing Ari Flagel, the guy who runs and operates Reptilandia Zoo in Texas, Johnson City, Texas. So it's going to be an epic. It's going to be a banger. All right. And then Thursday, Trap Talk with MJ with Mark Mandick and Will Moros. Canada, where you at? Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. I mean, there's so much heat coming from this channel. It's not even freaking funny, man. Patreon members, I love you guys. You guys are my heart. If you're looking for exclusive content, first link in description below. Join the Trap Talk Patreon family. Come network yourself with some of the best keepers in the game, and that's a fact. There's a Discord that connects you with all these amazing people, Instagram group chat, and of course, Trap Fest 2024, invite only. It's going to be epic right here on the Trap Compound. Have a good night. Thank you so much. It's a wrap. Give it up for Patrick Holmes. What an episode. He just dropped some heat. But episode 463 in the books. Have a good night. I'm out. Cheers.